Well, welcome aboard a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash, live at Chickies and Pete's, Tropicana, Atlantic City. It's a busy day out here. What's going on at the Trop today? It is packed. It is fun. It is ready to go. We are ready to go. The Sports Bash is live on the road again. We are at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City at the Tropicana. We've got a historic night last night. How about the Schwarbombs weren't even the biggest story of the night, Pete G. We had a historic night of homers at Citizens Bank Park last night. 8 in all by the Phillies, 2 by Schwarber, only to be outdone by 3 from Edmundo Sosa, who also made history last night. He's the only shortstop in Phillies history to ever hit 3 home runs in the same game. Who else hit homers last night? You had an Otto bomb, a Bohm bomb, a Stott bomb. 8 homers last night for the Phils. They win in easy fashion last night, 11-1, cruising to a win. And with the win, they clinched at least the number 2 seed in the National League playoffs. They will get a bye, which means they officially begin the playoffs on Saturday, October the 4th, against an opponent to be determined. That opponent won't be determined until next week, but keep this in mind. Right now, that battle for the final spot in the wild card is nuts. The Mets lost last night. The Reds lost last night. But you know who won?
The Dodgers won.
The Diamondbacks also won last night. And the Diamondbacks have now jumped into the wild card spot. And if the playoffs were to start today, you would have all sorts. By the way, the Reds are in action right now. We're at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City. We are watching the Reds and Pirates game, which just started moments ago. So we'll be able to keep our eye on that game. When you're looking at this National League wild card, the standings right now, it is pretty bonkers. And the American League, by the way, they are all pretty crazy.
Oh, and by the way, Big Dumper hit 60 last night. He hit 2.
So did Aaron Judge.
Judge hit 2. A lot of dingers last night.
Yeah, it was a muggy, hot night. But right now, the Mets are in, if the playoffs were to start today. The Reds are a game back. The Diamondbacks are a game back. Those 3 teams are all within 1 game. And the Reds are playing right now. So you got a wild, wild finish down the stretch they come. But the Phillies did clinch at least the number 2 seed last night with their win. And, of course, you look at the standings. There they are on the screen if you're watching on the YouTube channel. You've got the Cubs in the lead, San Diego, and then the Mets, Reds, and Diamondbacks. So 4 games left to go in the season for many of these teams. You got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that'll do it. The Phillies play tonight against the Marlins, and then they'll finish the weekend series against Minnesota. Now, a couple questions. You know, the Phillies have now clinched at least a bye. Some people had speculated, as if this was football, that you start resting guys. There's no way you start resting guys if you're the Phillies, right? You keep playing
Absolutely
Schwarber,
not.
and he keeps going for this record, as Rob Thompson hinted at and alluded to last night, that he was going to talk to Bryce Harper. Here's what Rob Thompson said about the pursuit for 59.
How great would it be to see Kyle Schwarber break the franchise record for home runs in a season?
Yeah, for him, Ryan Howard's a great player. He really is. I got a lot of respect for him. But it'd be nice to see Schwarber break it. He's had one heck of a year, and he's a heck of a person. So, and like I said, records are meant to be broken. I'll talk to him, but I think I'll give him a chance to break it.
Yeah, I think I'll give him a chance to break it. Schwarber should be in the lineup every single day. And that's whether he needs to break this record or not. All these guys should play the rest of the way here. You got to keep getting as many at-bats and keep your timing going. You know why? You're off all next week. You have the rest. You have all of the rest of the way here. You take a look at the Phillies' schedule the rest of the way. They'll play tonight. That is Walker Buehler, by the way. So that makes tonight's game a little extra interesting. And then the Twins have adjusted their pitching. You'll see Mick Abel pitch on Saturday against the Phillies now. Nola will pitch Friday, Suarez, and then Sanchez. Now, the question will be, as the Phillies, now they're going to pitch their guys the rest of the way here. They already have said that. But I would imagine some of these guys get, shorter outings the rest of the way. I don't think you're going to see Christopher Sanchez go much further than, 5 innings in his final start of the season. And then tonight, Walker Buehler, what kind of night you'll get from him. But, last night's game, it starts with a flurry. Really, the Phillies just absolutely, that 1 inning. You almost, I don't know, did you feel bad for the pitcher?
I did. I don't know why they left him in there. I guess because it's late September, but
Well,
poor guy.
go back to the seventh inning when the Phillies hit. It just felt like it was it was home run derby there. You had the Schwarber home run in the third. You had the Sosa home run in the fourth. You had a Sosa home run in the fifth. He also hit one in the seventh. That seventh inning where Bohm and Schwarber went back to back. I mean, it was just fireworks all over the place. But I think overshadowed by the whole thing, everybody, was Jesus Luzardo, right? 7 innings last night, 3 hits, just the 1 run. He had 10 strikeouts in the game. And really, that's the best that Jesus Luzardo has looked in. He's had some good games. I'm not saying he had, but that's the most dominant he has looked in a while, right? I mean, you go back and watch the game last night, all the home runs, what got lost in the sauce with all the home runs last night is that Luzardo looked absolutely dominant in that game last night. So if you needed to see one more dominant start from Luzardo, and listen, I know some people like the aesthetics of seeing the pitcher look good. Hey, that makes me feel better. He could look terrible 3 starts in a row and then go out and throw a gem. But that start there, that's the start that is in him that you're going to need somewhere along this playoff run here. That was, to me, the biggest story of the night last night. That being said, Schwarber hitting the 2 home runs. It's just an unbelievable season for Kyle Schwarber.
Well, did Luzardo earn himself a Game 2 start at home?
Game 2?
At home as opposed to on the road? I think it's something to talk about because I feel like Luzardo could feed off this Red October crowd as opposed to going on the road. Don't you think Ranger, that's better suited for Ranger?
That's a fair
Ice in his
question.
veins,
It's a good question. I
not
guess
bothered.
the question would be this. I'm pretty sure if Ranger pitches Game 2, that would set him up for pitching a Game 5, right? Like if you were to look at the pitching, who would you rather get 2 starts in the series, Luzardo or Suarez?
Suarez.
Pete?
I guess Suarez.
Well, Rangers got the track record, so don't you want the guy with the track record out there?
He does, but you would hope that it wouldn't get to a Game 5.
You're essentially thinking that if your pitches well enough, and that means Luzardo pitches at home and he pitches better because he's at home. I don't know. What are the splits? Do we know? Can we find the splits
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Luzardo, home and road? I know Christopher Sanchez last year had some pretty crazy splits where pitching him at home was a much better decision than pitching him on the road. That being said, I don't know that Luzardo and or Suarez splits are all that crazy different. I haven't, seen anything like that. Normally throughout the course of a year, you'll start to hear about a trend like, oh, this is he's struggling on the road. Is there any reason why? I mean, ultimately, you would want your top 2 guys to get the most opportunities to pitch. How many people think Luzardo is actually the second best pitcher on this staff right now? 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. I'd be interested to see that. How many people think Luzardo is the better option to pitch 2 games or Game 2?
I mean, he was borderline untouchable last night.
Last night he was. He was very good last night. I will
But that's
certainly
part of the
give you that.
problem is that he's not always that guy.
Right, but at home, I feel more confident that he would be that
So
guy.
here's the split. He actually has a worse ERA at home this year than on the road.
Thoughts?
Okay.
He has a 4.16 ERA at home, 3.67 on the road.
So essentially then just keep him in the 3 spot.
By the way, so it's almost an identical innings, 93 innings at home and 90 on the road.
Sounds like then just keep him at 3. Is there a crazy split for Ranger?
Really quick, I will also say, though, his whip is better at home, though, Mike. His whip is 1.11 at home. It's 1.3 on the road.
1.1 is a really good whip. 1.3 is good. It's not really good, but it's still good. I mean, you're in that 1.1 range. You're dom. That's very good.
Well,
now, Luzardo, overall this season, he ends the year at 15-7 with a 3.92 ERA, 216 strikeouts, and a 122 whip. So he had a very, very good year, which, by the way, kind of started off like Cy Youngish, and then he kind of went into a little bit of a funk, and then he regrouped a little bit, but I don't know that he ever got back to a stretch where you were like, this guy is like, where you now trust him. Now, on the flip side, so you have Luzardo 15-7. Suarez is 12-7.
Really quick, Suarez's splits are he has a better ERA on the road than at home this year to Suarez. Suarez's ERA at home is 3.39. On the road is 2.84. Suarez's whip at home is 1.18. His whip on the road is 1.21.
Okay, so he's good home, road, no matter. Both of their splits are pretty comparable,
I think
home and road.
Eyeball test, who's more likely to set the tone on the road, Ranger or Luzardo?
Well, you'll be pitching at home the first two games.
Right. I'm saying game 3. I'm sorry. Game 3. Who's more likely to set the tone?
Well, I don't know.
Ranger.
Are you up 2-0? Is it 1-1? Is it 0-2?
Right.
I mean, it varies on what the situation is. But I will say Suarez's ERA is slightly better, 3.12 to 3.92. Now, the whip is in both of them are Rangers 120 and Luzardo's 122. So they're both putting about the same amount of runners on base per inning. The big difference in these two pitchers is the strikeouts.
Right.
Luzardo has 216 strikeouts in 183 innings, where Ranger, he's obviously not as big of a strikeout pitcher. In his innings this year, he has pitched in 153 innings, and he has 147 strikeouts. So he's averaging almost a strikeout per inning, but Luzardo is the guy that, if you're looking for, what you're talking about, Pete, set the tone by striking guys out like last night, 10 strikeouts in a game. Although we've seen Ranger. He had 12 strikeouts in a game recently.
Right.
Well, I would say really quick, guys, that I think to me what goes back to is what guys like Ruben Amaro Jr. have talked about, which is you want Ranger to break up the lefties because you got two hard-throwing lefties in Sanchez and Luzardo, while Ranger is more of like a Tom Glavine-esque, more of like a pinpoint precision guy.
Well, I think that's a good point that has been brought up, by people who say, hey, look, you're going to throw these three lefties back to back to back in a playoff series. Most teams like to break up the lefty. Well, the Phillies' way to break up their lefty is just to throw a lefty who's different from the other two lefties, and that would be Ranger in the middle of Sanchez and Luzardo, who both, throw 96. Sanchez has that changeup as his out pitch, where Luzardo throws more of the sweeper for his out pitch. So you have two different styles of pitchers pitching game 1 with Christopher, followed by Ranger in game 2, and then you go to Luzardo, who's more of a power pitcher in game 3. So I think I would go with Ranger in game 2.
Now I was going to say, can I pull up one more split number for you guys really quick? So I looked up what Ranger and Luzardo have done this year versus some of the playoff teams. Ranger has a 4.50 ERA against the Dodgers this year. Luzardo on the flip side has a 2.57 ERA against the Dodgers. So could it maybe come down to who the opponent is, how you pitch these guys?
Say who's better? What was that again? Who had the better numbers against the Dodgers?
So Luzardo,
you don't even know that you're playing the Dodgers. That's number one.
I'm just pulling up playoff teams. But you have better. Luzardo has better numbers against the Dodgers than Ranger, but Ranger has better numbers against the Mets than Luzardo. Just use that as an example.
Yeah, I think you just got to go with Ranger in 2 and Luzardo in 3. I don't think you overthink it. You just say, look, Sanchez is our best guy. Suarez is the guy we trust the next most, plus the difference in their styles, and Luzardo's 3. I don't know that there's any number. Like last year, they went with Nola in game 3 and Christopher in game 2 because the splits were so drastic.
Now, I think of all the starters, I will say that Luzardo is probably the most likely guy to be converted in the postseason as a reliever, right?
That's everybody's everybody just assumes because Ranger in 2022 was used out of the bullpen a handful of times. I don't think it was very often. I don't know that it was more than twice. But everybody just remembers that run in 2022 where Ranger was the guy that got called on, but that was because he was a lower-end starter for this team. He was like the fourth guy or the third guy, so that he wasn't as important. Now, you might say he's more effective out of the bullpen than some of the other guys. Their lefties, though, are pretty solid with Strom and Tanner Banks. if he's available to throw later on a championship round or a
Right.
World Series, I think you can deploy him in that mode. But I don't anticipate that they flip Ranger to the bullpen unless it is like win or go home situation, right? You guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't need to see the lefties out of the bullpen unless I'm trying to win a Game 7, for example.
I'm just looking at home and away. I think Ranger has the stones to pitch on the road as opposed to Luzardo.
I do think that is something that, ultimately, if you're saying who do you want to pitch the big game, Luzardo or Suarez?
Right.
Suarez would be the answer for almost everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, do you look at it and say, I'd rather – well, that's why you pitch him in Game 2 then, is because he would be the guy that would come back. I think the way it's set up that he would be the guy who pitches in Game 5.
Yeah, they definitely want to make sure that Sanchez is the guy coming back around first and foremost. And obviously in the NLDS, that's where all your eggs are in right now because you don't want to repeat last year.
609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Dan in EHT chimes in, says the Phillies bullpen is really bad. It has to be the coaching staff. How in the world can they not fix this bullpen? Well, Dan, I got news for you. You could be the greatest pitching coach in the world, and if you don't have enough talent in that bullpen, you are certainly not going to convert guys into mediocre pitchers into great pitchers. You might be able to make them be good, a mediocre guy to good, a good guy to great, but you're not going from mediocre to great. And for the most part, the Phillies bullpen has been above average to good at times at its top end. I mean, they've never really had a great bullpen this season. Like last year, you had times where they had a really, really good bullpen. But this year, they've never really had a stretch where that bullpen was very trustworthy. And right now, to go to Dan's point, I mean, the bullpen definitely has questions. And that's why, Pete, you just brought up Ranger Suarez pitching in the bullpen. And you can't have it both ways. He's either your number 2 starter, this isn't high school baseball where you can deploy the guy anytime you want. Hey, you want to start today and you'll close tomorrow? That's just not how this thing. Now, in the playoffs, you did see Walker Buehler last year pitch in Game 5 for the Dodgers. They had a day off for Game 6, and then in Game 6 he closed that game in the World Series. So I could see that situation where if it's a closeout situation or it's a situation where it's win or go home for your team, you would have your best guys available. But I don't think they're just going to use him as a starter in Game 2 one day, and then, hey, the next, we're off and you're available. Do you want to pitch out of the bullpen today? I don't think he's going to be an option out of the bullpen unless it's like to win the World Series and or to make sure you don't lose and get eliminated.
And again, this is all a byproduct of Wheeler being gone.
Yeah.
And Nola, you can't really use him. It's either he's going to start.
No
or you're
question
not gonna use
about
him at
that.
all.
The fact that Nola is not the same pitcher, you can't use him as one of your top 3 because I think ultimately the Phillies would rather use Nola as one of their 3. But hey, listen, even if Nola was one of the 3, which of the 2 lefties is getting bounced to the bullpen?
Yeah.
And keep this in mind because Dave Dombrowski said a little while ago that, hey, when we get to the bullpen, we'll push one of those lefties to the bullpen. It doesn't look like that's going to happen now. I think the Phillies anticipated moving one of their starters to the bullpen to help their bullpen. The problem is they thought Nola would be a starter and then the other guy would go to the bullpen. That's not happening now. So they're not getting that bump in the bullpen that they thought they were going to get. Hence, they had to go out and get Walker Buehler. We're going to talk about the Phillies and their bullpen and how they should set it up. And who does Hembo think the Phillies should pitch in game number 2 of a playoff series? Paul Hembekides, affectionately known as Hembo, joins us at 3 o'clock today on the Sports Bash. Jeff Nadu's picks are back. He joins us at 3:30.
Oh, I got my pen ready for Nadu.
He'll give you the college football plays of the week. Jeff Nadu, our college football betting analyst, is back on the Sports Bash. But when we come back, it's another edition of Q Myers from Game Night We'll go around the NFL, a look back, a look ahead, all the big NFL stories with Q Myers next on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We're at Chickies and Pete's today. Go where the players go, the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't forget, you can get the garage beer, the Kelsey meal, the A.J. Brown sweet hot wings. Get them right here at Tropicana Chickies and Pete's. They got Thursday night football tonight. All the Schwarber bombs for the Phillies playoffs, and, of course, the Eagles and Bucs this weekend. Penn State, Oregon, big college football weekend, man. Where do we even begin? With the host of Game Night right here on 97.3 ESPN. Weeknights at 10. It is Q Myers back for another edition right here on the Sports Bash as we whip it around all the top topics. And right now, man, we got a big football weekend. We got 2 3-0s, Philly and Tampa Bay. And obviously the wild weekend that both those teams had, Q. You had blocked field goals in both of those games, setting up a game now between 2 3-0s. But the way the Eagles won that game here locally, I'll tell you, it has people questioning the offense of why they're so conservative. When you look at it from the outside looking in, what do you see when you see Philly and that offense and the way they had to win that game?
I mean, look, their offense could be conservative if you want to call it that, but it's winning football, and Philadelphia finds ways to win games. What's funny to me about this, Mike, is we spent so many years praising the Chiefs and saying, well, good teams just find ways to win games. That's what good teams do. And then the Eagles start doing it, and they block a couple field goals in the game, and it's like, oh, that's a boring team. They're not very good. They're, lackluster, and, they kind of got lucky. It's like, wait, hold on. They're a really good team. They just won the Super Bowl. They find ways to win games too, right? I mean, it's not always going to be pleasing to the eyes. Would they like to clean it up? Absolutely, right? I would never even try to act like they don't have areas to clean up. Sure. But you have to give good football teams credit. Now, when a bad football team wins like that, okay, maybe they just happen to, stumble upon some fool's gold. They're not a bad football team. There's a reason why they're undefeated, and good things like that happen. They knew what they were doing. The calculated chances that they took, not once but twice, obviously paid off.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, they started 10-1. And, it was, hey, this team finds ways to win. They play a style that everybody else has to, figure out. Does this team give you those vibes at all, the way they played Dallas? Needed a CeeDee Lamb drop. The way they played Kansas City? Needed a Travis Kelce drop. And those are two guys that generally aren't giving you gimmies. And then you needed 2 block field goals. Is this team giving you any vibes of that 2023 team that did get off to a 10-1 start?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a few vibes like that. I mean, because you can have the similarities. I mean, you just rolled them out there. But again, I just give credit to really good teams that find ways to win and don't, just when it's not going perfect, just cave. I mean, look what Kansas City did last year. How many weird, bizarre ways did they win? And I think we all questioned them and said, is this sustainable? Well, it was, because they went 15-2. Now, when they got to the Super Bowl, we all know what happened. They ran into a buzzsaw that was the Philadelphia Eagles, but they literally went 15-2 by having a block kick, or having a ball bounce off the upright and go in, or having one little toe out of bounds, or having an official call a pass interference penalty when 4th down was incomplete. Like, they were able to squeak by so many times, and all we kept saying is, I mean, they have Patrick Mahomes. When you have 15, anything's possible. Okay, well, the Eagles have Jalen Hurts. The Eagles have Jalen Carter. The Eagles have Jordan Davis. The Eagles have Nick Sirianni. The Eagles have a hell of a team, and so good things happen to teams like that.
All right, Q Myers is my guest here. We're going around all the big stories in the NFL. Some of them include teams that surprisingly lost. Now, Green Bay. Everybody loves this Green Bay team. They couldn't score against Cleveland, and then they lost.
Right.
What happened to Green Bay in the Pantheon?
Man, Cleveland's defense is really good. That's one thing that I wasn't 100% sure of, but, on the daily, every night, I should say, I work with Emmett Golden. I'll be working with him tonight on game night. He's like the mayor of Cleveland, and he keeps telling me, Q, the Cleveland defense is really strong, and they showed that against the Packers. And then I think that the Packers also had a little bit of, hey, next week we've got the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Michael's returning to Dallas, and can't wait to turn up on that game. We just got to go ahead and handle our business with the Browns. But I don't think that they took the Browns too seriously. Obviously, the Browns' offense is not very good, but their defense is really solid. So they showed them that if you don't go and prepare for every single game, and if you overlook any single opponent in the National Football League, as you know, it's a week-to-week league, you could take an L. So the Packers took an L. They understand what they did. Now they got to go to Big D, and Michael Parsons is probably going to do everything he can to get that ugly taste out of their mouth. But, as you know, and I've been saying this to anyone who will listen, the Cowboys are one of those teams that they win games they have no business winning. And the games that you think they're not going to win this game, they end up winning. The games that they're not supposed to lose, yeah, they take that L. So they are the Jekyll and Hyde of the NFL as far as I'm concerned. So that makes this a Sunday night game so much more intriguing.
Well, and you wonder what it does for the Packers' big picture here, because I think one game changes our minds so many times sometimes, and it shouldn't, because the Lions, what they did on Monday night, what they did against the Packers in Week 1 made us kind of pull off the Lions. Are we back in on them?
Yeah, I think that when they went up against the Packers Week 1, we wanted to see what it looked like, right? No Ben Johnson, no Aaron Glenn, so many assistants were gone. So we wanted to see what it looked like. And, oh, by the way, Green Bay is really good. And so it didn't look like Detroit was going to be that team. But back-to-back weeks, they beat the brakes off the Bears. And then you saw what they did on Monday Night Football. And, they out-physicaled the Ravens. And they really put their will on them on Monday night in the fourth quarter, 17 points that they scored, right? So you just saw Detroit seeming like they started to come together in front of our eyes. So I think that they're definitely going to be that strong team. It's going to make that division that much better. I still think Green Bay is really good. I still don't know what to expect from Minnesota, right? I mean, we know that they don't have J.J. McCarthy. We know Carson Wentz is going to get the start again, and we just saw what Minnesota did last week. So, it's really, to me, comes down to Green Bay and what else the Detroit Lions are going to continue to do. But they definitely earned, I think, a lot of people's respect by that showcase on Monday night.
Well, we're 3 games in, and we're trying to kind of figure some of these things out. You got Philadelphia that's 3-0. Green Bay has that ugly loss to Cleveland on their ledger. Detroit got beat by Green Bay, and then it has looked good the last 2 weeks. San Francisco's undefeated. Should we be keeping an eye on them more?
It's funny, man. How are they undefeated, right? They don't have their starting quarterback. They've got injuries all the time. You just heard from John Lynch that Brandon Ayuk still is nowhere close to coming back, but yet they're 3-0. Right. And the one good thing is that Mac Jones, at least he has that starting experience, obviously being a former first round pick, but still just kind of scratching my head, not really knowing who this team was. And they're in a very difficult division, right? The NFC West, I think that they're playing some really good ball. Obviously, we'll see Seattle and Arizona tonight and to see who takes that next step. But, I mean, San Francisco being 3-0, I definitely think that we have to pay attention to what they're going to do. Their biggest issue is going to be health. Can they stay healthy? Can they get healthy, right? Because they have so many guys that are banged up right now. So that's my biggest question and concern. When's Brock Purdy going to come back? Is he going to be full go when he does get back, and can the rest of the unit, can they stay healthy? But outside of that, man, I mean, so far so good, right? 3-0, you can't get any better than that.
Well, I'll tell you, you can't, but you got so many teams in the NFC that are interesting. We didn't talk about Washington, Minnesota, Arizona, Seattle, Rams. You got 5 other teams that we really haven't even included. Should any of them be in the picture of the teams we already discussed? There's one team in there that and by the way, we haven't talked about Tampa either, who is 3-0. But there's one team in that group that I like probably as the number 2 team in my NFC. I want to see what yours is.
Well, I like the Rams a lot, Mike, but I have so many questions about health, right? We know Devontae Adams is a little banged up. I'm sure he's going to go this week, but he's not 100% healthy. And I'm still concerned with Matt Stafford. I mean, after spending the whole training camp and preseason basically on ice trying to get him ready for the season, I just don't know if he's going to be able to survive throughout the course of the year. They're playing good ball, right? They have a nice, young, strong defense, and they're making some big plays. So they could be a dangerous team that I think a lot of people weren't really paying attention to early on. The Arizona Cardinals, I'm glad that we get to see them tonight for Thursday Night Football because I still don't know who they are, right? I don't know if I trust them yet. It seems like there's moments where Kyler Murray is the dude, and the defense under Jonathan Gannon, I think, is playing really good. Baron Browning, I think that was a big pickup that they made that trade for him last year, and you seeing them come together. So I like what they have on the surface, but I never really trust Arizona to stay consistent. And then they've got the questions about Marvin Harrison putting the ball on the ground, right? Is he going to bounce back? Is he going to get out of his own head? What's going on there? He bulked up in the offseason. So did he get on the David Boston type treatment and bulk up too much? I don't think so, but I mean, this is a big time pass catcher. He's putting the rock on the ground. So there's a lot of questions I have there. And then Seattle's defense is playing really well. And I would actually argue and say that Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy are 2 of the best defensive tackles in the league. And not talking about the Eagles defensive tackles, obviously, but I think that they're very comparable to some of the best in the league right now. So I'd watch out for all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all these NFC teams all have something going for them. And then Washington wins a game without Jaden Daniels. I mean, obviously, you probably watched that one pretty closely.
Yeah, the Raiders no-showed that one.
Well, Mariota goes against his former team. And, like when Jaden Daniels is usually what you think, so does them winning a game the way they did make us take Washington more? Now, they got a ton of injuries right now,
Right.
but the fact that they were able to put up 40 in a game without Jaden Daniels, should we look at them a little closer?
Yeah, I think so. And I also will say that a lot of that was on the Raiders as well. They took that one on the chin. I don't know that team. I didn't recognize that team. I was surprised that a Pete Carroll-led team looked like that. I mean, they looked like they never got off the bus, right? I mean, it was, and look, Pete Carroll said that he didn't really set them up in the week of practice very well, right? Knew it was a short week, and the Commanders were coming off 10 days of rest, so he really didn't have them out there hitting in practice. So maybe that was part of it, but the defense looked bad, the offense looked bad, special teams looked worse. So that was just a really bad day for the Raiders, but, give the Commanders a lot of credit. They've got some dudes on that defensive line, right? Let's not forget, Von Miller is a Hall of Famer. Bobby Wagner is going to be a Hall of Famer. Deron Payne is really good, right? So that defensive line and that defensive unit, those front seven, they can get after it. So I think that we might have forgot how good they really are, and they reminded everyone quick, fast, in a hurry the way that they beat the brakes off the Raiders.
All right, we're talking with Q Myers, looking back and ahead. We'll take a look at a couple of the keys ahead. But first, AFC, you got Buffalo 3-0, Chargers 3-0, Colts 3-0. The other teams with winning records are Jacksonville, Cincinnati, we know Burrow's out, and Pittsburgh. The rest of the conference all has losing records. That includes Baltimore there. This conference seemingly is going to be a battle of attrition to the end.
Yeah.
Can I get to 9? Can I scratch and claw to 9 wins? We do a segment called Who's In, Who's Out every Tuesday, meaning who's in the playoffs, who's out of the playoffs in our mind. I can't find 7 playoff teams in the AFC. Can you?
Well, that's what's going to make it so much fun, right? I mean, because normally we say, it takes double-digit wins to get to the playoffs. But maybe not this year. Like you said, I mean, there's really good teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens that are both 1-2. And that's why this game coming up this week with those two teams is going to be really interesting. Who's going to drop to 1-3? Like literally one of those two teams will be 1-3 when they go to bed Sunday night. So, I mean, yeah, you look at, the obviously the Bills are really good. You look at a couple other teams and you feel good about, but like the Steelers, I don't feel great about their overall record. I still don't believe that they're a really good team. Cincinnati, I feel like that they're going to fall off sooner rather than later. I mean, they've got a backup quarterback. You're not going to win without Joe Burrow. The Chargers, I like the Chargers a lot at 3-0. I think that they're going to be 4-0 after they beat the brakes off the Giants this week. And, Jackson Dart, I'm excited to see what he looks like. But the Chargers are the real deal, man. So I think that they're a team that you are going to have to worry about. Can Denver or can Kansas City make a push and get things turned around? Denver is kind of lost in some weird ways by field goals the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, man, it's hard to get to the 7 that are going to be in the playoffs, but you know that it's so competitive. Like the Colts, I still need to see more. I know they're 3-0, but I feel like, okay, they're 3-0 right now. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let me see a little bit more. The one good thing that they've got going for them is that their third downs are never third down and long. It's always third down and short. Jonathan Taylor has been running his tail off and, making life easier on Daniel Jones. So there's credit there to be given to him, but I just need to see a little bit more. So, yeah, I think the AFC is still kind of wide open.
All right, looking ahead, you got Colts and Rams this weekend, so we'll find out more about them. You got Ravens and Kansas City. One of those teams is going to be 1-3, so This is a huge matchup for two teams that went to the AFC Championship game last week. You've also got, on top of that, you've got the Green Bay-Dallas game to see if Green Bay can rebound, and if Dallas can get a win here, that gets them to 2-2. So that game on Sunday night becomes very interesting. The one other game that I think is somewhat intriguing. It's not a great schedule this week outside of that, but Jacksonville, San Francisco. If Jacksonville wins that game, they might sell me a little bit more. That's
the funny thing about Jacksonville, I was excited to see what they were going to look like this year because they went and drafted Travis Hunter. So I was, man, this is going to be must-watch TV. And, Mike, I still can't find myself, locking in on a Jacksonville game. You know what I mean? It's just – it seems like it's so hard to just lock in and see what they've got cooking. And, again –
what happened to Trevor Lawrence? I mean, he was supposed to be a guy that was going to grab you and be a star in this league. Never happened.
And that's one thing, and we've been talking about that for a while. And now that he's part of the $50 million a year plus club, I mean, there's obviously a lot more pressure. But what happened to Brian Thomas Jr.? Right? Think about the great season that he had a year ago, and all of a sudden he can't catch a cold. Right? I mean, it's like, wait, what's going on with him? Travis Hunter, like I said, I want to lock in to watch him, see what he does going on both sides of the ball. But it hasn't been anything, when I am tuned in, that's caught my attention. It's like, yep, this is why I got to watch them. So, yeah, I'll pay attention to them going up against the 49ers. I think it's a good measuring stick to see, okay, is this team for real, or are they just going to be basically the same old Jaguars?
All right, Q Myers is the host of Game Night right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can listen to that weeknights at 10. And, of course, we spin it around the league. All of the big stories that are happening in the NFL, that Tampa-Philadelphia game, that's probably the game of the week, though, the 2-3-0. That's the one, you're out in Vegas. Is that the one you're zoning in on?
Yeah, that's a big one for sure, because I think a lot of people understand Philadelphia and expected them to be 3-0, but I think a lot of people still sleep on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, they both, as you mentioned at the top, right, they both found ways to, win these games last week in week 3. And obviously the Eagles had a couple kicks, and then Tampa Bay had a kick done to them, right? And so they still were able to find, kick blocks. So they were able to find a way to come back and win that game. But, they're down Mike Evans. They're banged up front as well. I feel like if they weren't banged up on the offensive line and Mike Evans was playing, this would be a much closer game. I think Philadelphia is going to win this one, but it's definitely one I'm intrigued by. Baker Mayfield has found new life now that he's in Tampa Bay, obviously for a couple seasons, and they no one else wanted him. They all threw him out, and they are like, nope, come on in here and you'll be just fine. And he has been. I'm happy for Todd Bowles, right? He's a guy that I questioned, wondering if he was going to really be a good head coach or if he's just a really good defensive coordinator, and he's showing that he is a really good head coach and's got that opportunity. So this is a very good game on paper. Like I said, the injuries to the Tampa Bay offensive line and guys up front, that bothers me. But then, hey, look, Philadelphia is not necessarily the book of health. I mean, they're banged up as well, with Nolan Smith being out. Yep. Ja'Cory Bennett, unfortunately, I saw he's going to be out for a while. He's on IR. That stinks. They've got some guys that they're dealing with that are out too.
By the way, Todd Bowles has owned Jalen Hurts. They have struggled, and they play at Tampa week 4, it seems like every single year, and they go down there and they lay a stinker. Q Myers, right. Listen to him right here on 97.3 ESPN, weeknights at 10 on Game Night on 97.3. What's up, buddy? We'll talk to you next week, pal.
All right, my man. Appreciate you as always, brother.
Always fun to spin it around the league with Q. And, of course, you can listen to him weeknights here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, more Sports Bash on the way. The Eagles and the Bucs. We're all over that. Plus, Hembo, Paul Hembekides, in about 17 minutes from now. Don't forget, we got the Sports Bash live at Chickies and Pete's. Go where the players go. Chickies and Pete's. We're in Atlantic City now. It's packed. What's going on over here? The Doo-Wop Festival?
A little Motown.
Motown.
Yeah.
Is it Motown or Doo-Wop?
I think it's Motown Memories or something like that.
Well, it's packed over here.
Yes.
I love it. A lot of people out here.
The quarter was buzzing.
Buzzing. And Chickies and Pete's, I went over towards the boardwalk to go look at the ocean, and I said, holy mackerel, it's packed over there. So come on out and watch the Thursday night game. We're watching Reds and Pirates right now. And don't forget, you got Flyers tonight as well.
On TV.
Ooh.
Against the Caps. I'm locked in on that.
All right, when we come back, we got a 3-0 we are with the winners. My man Chuck Adell's back, plus Jeff Nadu with his college plays of the week at 3:30. Don't go away. Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. field goals like every other game it felt like in the NFL. Chuck, you nailed that one. It was 3-0 at halftime. You probably felt like you could sprinkle something else after you saw that game. It was under the total, and I hope everyone's taking advantage of these on-air winners. 3 straight now, 800-808-3481, 800-808-3481. That one was an easy one.
Yeah, thanks. It's always fun to cash tickets. When you bet an under, usually when you're on an under, you have to sweat out till the final whistle. But that one was one of those where you could kind of breathe easy. Like you said, it was 3-0 halftime, 13-10 final, and worked out good. Love cashing those tickets. And I do have a big play going tonight as well. And what we're going to do for the first 50 callers at 1-800-808-3481, 1-800-808-3481, or you can just go to chuckwins.com. First 50 callers will get the play tonight and the plays for this weekend. So should be fun.
All right, let's look at something this weekend here. We got a whole bunch of fun stuff. What is catching your eye this weekend?
There's one game that kind of jumps out at me here. You look at this Houston-Tennessee game, you see 2-0-3 teams. And, automatically the casual bettor probably go with 2-0-3 teams. I'll just take the dog +7, right? But that's not what we're doing here. There's a big difference in these two teams with Houston and Tennessee. Houston Rams by 5, won to Tampa, last week by 7 in Jacksonville. They had some close games that they just couldn't get over the top. Their offensive line was banged up. It's getting healthier now. Meanwhile, on the other end, Tennessee's just been blown out all 3 games. I guess the one game against Denver, they held it a little closer for a while. Cam Ward has struggled, and it's not really all his fault. They have a very bad offensive line. They're banged up on the offensive line. They don't have much of a running game. Tony Pollard, 54 rushes this year, 3.6 yards per carry. And, they're changing the play calling this week. They got the coach gave it up to the offensive coordinator. So lots of problems over there in Tennessee. Meanwhile, they are going up against a Houston defense that's playing well, only giving up 17 points a game. And this is a Tennessee team that, against a good defense, should struggle. And on offense, I think Tennessee is going to get a little healthier this week. On the offensive line, they're going to get healthier. Plus, this Tennessee defense, we know how bad they've been. They're banged up in the secondary. They just traded one of their cornerbacks, Jarvis Brown-Lee, over to the Jets. A lot of problems over there, and I assume that this Ward's going to have trouble as well when he's in the offense. He's been sacked 15 times already this season. Last year, Houston won both these games by 9 points. I think Houston coming in so hungry in this game takes advantage of a lot of things here. I think Tennessee's in trouble. I do like Houston minus the 7 points.
All right, Houston is the play. And, Chuck, one more time, tell all the listeners, especially those first 50 listeners, how they can get another winner.
Yeah, you just go to 1-800-808-3481, 1-800-808-3481, or simply just go to chuckwins.com, and you'll get the play tonight and the plays for the weekend.
All right, Chuck, appreciate it as always. Let's hope we get a 4-0 record when we talk to you next week. Thanks, pal.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right, everybody, chuckwins.com. Check that out, 800-808-3481. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We got more plays coming for you. Our buddy Jeff Nadu is coming back at 3:30 today. We'll get his best college plays of the weekend. Check that out, all coming up at 3:30. But coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, we're going to talk to our buddy Hembo, Paul Hembekides from Get Up. Will be joining us on the other side. We'll get his take on the Phillies run, the Philadelphia Eagles, Sixers Media Day. Should there be any buzz about the Sixers? We'll get Hembo's thoughts on the Philadelphia sports scene coming up next. Plus, don't forget his new book. We had Greeny on yesterday's show. Today, Hembo, we talked about the Mount Rushmore with Greeny yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles Mount Rushmore. We're going to find out the Philadelphia Phillies Mount Rushmore. Who are the 4 Phillies you're putting on the Mount Rushmore list? Text in right now, 609-403-0973. We'll ask Hembo who made his Phillies Mount Rushmore list. That's coming up next right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. All right, 3 o'clock hour live at Chickies and Pete's. Go where the players go. Get the Team 62 combo at Chickies and Pete's, the perfect combo created by the legend himself. Our barbecue burger, crab fries, and a garage beer. Garage will donate a portion of all the drafts sold towards Team 62 charities. They also got the Sweet Heat Wings from A.J. Brown. It combines the nostalgia of his old Miss days with the fiery spirit of his playing days, offering a unique kick to Birds Nation. Now, we asked you in the last segment with Chuck and Elle to give us your Phillies Mount Rushmore. We're going to have Hembo on in just a moment here. Paul Hembekides, who helped author the book. We had Greeny on yesterday. That was a great conversation. Did you like that Greeny conversation yesterday? That was fun.
I did.
Got a lot of great feedback on that one, and we always know Hembo delivers. He's going to be joining us in just a moment here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. They got the new book out, Got Your Legends, which talks about iconic numbers in sports history, weaving together storytelling, stats, and the cultural moments that shaped America's biggest franchise. So what they did was they ranked every single franchise, all 124 franchises from the four major sports. Now, Greeny was on yesterday's show, and he gave us the Mount Rushmore for the Eagles. Now, we're going to have Hembo on today to deliver us the Mount Rushmore for the Phillies, because our listeners have been texting in throughout the day, and we'll talk some Phillies with him. And then, of course, we'll get a little bit more information on the book, some of the rankings, and so much fun. The book is called Got Your Legends, the greatest legends and the teams that made them. And Paul Hembekides is back. He is one of the authors of the book, and he joins us now on the Sports Bash on a day after a historic night at Citizens Bank Park. Hembo, welcome back. I don't know what they are, so no. Yeah. Well, all right, well, listen, we've had people texting in all day. So we've got the first hour of the show, 609-403-0973. Text your Phillies Mount Rushmore. We'll read them off, and the first person who matches Hembo's, we'll give them that sign. Well, you'll do it because it's not up to me, but you already said it, so I'll leave it up to you. An autographed copy of the book, Mike Greenberg and Paul Hembekides. Let's see. All right, I'll read off a couple here real quick here that have been coming in. Right. Well, so yesterday I asked Greeny right at the end of the conversation, and then he had me guess them, and I was off on a couple. I didn't get Kelsey. I got Bednarik, I got Reggie, and Dawkins. I got those three, and then the last one I didn't. You don't usually think offensive lineman when you're going to it. Baseball and the Phillies, this one can go all over the place because really the Phillies have, like three eras of baseball that they had any success. Every other era they've been terrible. So, right, you're really picking from like three eras of their history. Is that a hint for people?
Back the onion a couple more layers and not just identify those, but identify other people, other figures in the history of every organization that may have had additional impacts beyond the field, beyond the rink, beyond the court. And so that's not exactly a hint, but it will, I think, at least turn your mind just a little bit and perhaps provide an edge to one person whom we selected, who is not a consensus top 4 Philly of all time, but incredibly influential figure as well, in addition to his time as a player.
Okay, so Paul Hembekides, Hembo, is with us here. Before we get, but a lot of the text messages are coming in. I see them kind of pouring in right now. 609-403-0973. Give us your Phillies Mount Rushmore and see if it matches Hembo's or the books, I should say. Did you come up with these or did you collaborate?
Well, we most certainly collaborated, but I will say that for the 4 Philly teams, of which I, of course, am a 4 from 4 lifelong fan, Greeny certainly gave me the levity to break any ties that we had. And this was one in which there was definitely ties to be broken because, unlike some franchises, it was not super clear. It was not super obvious. For most franchises, there were at least 2, if not 3 people that we didn't even have to much debate. In the Phillies case, I think there are only 2 slam dunks. And so that's what made, selecting players, 3 and 4, for lack of a better term, so challenging. But ultimately, I was the one to break that tie.
Okay, so text them in, 609-403-0973. And there's a lot of texts coming in. So whoever the first person is, that if they match yours, we will get them an autographed copy of the book, and we'll connect with Hembo, and they can get your information and stuff. But I want to first, last night, you're a numbers guy, as this book suggests, and your previous book, Got Your Numbers, also suggests 8 home runs, 2 more for Schwarber, a historic night for Sosa. No other shortstop in Phillies history has ever hit 3 in the same night. Just kind of quantify what we watch from this Phillies offense and why it frustrates us so much when we see that night, and then we know what could be happening down the line.
Well, it is not every night that you get the opportunity to face a depleted Marlins pitching staff. But in fairness, the Marlins were coming in hot. We know the Marlins have played good baseball in September, but the Phillies are a lineup, as we saw, I think most acutely in the 2022 postseason, that is a legitimate hitting is contagious lineup. It's very difficult to quantify that. And I've done my very best, as have many sabermetricians, for lack of a better term, because when you're watching a baseball game or when you're playing a baseball game and you're in the dugout, there is a rowing in the same direction, galvanizing type feel that we all felt and saw in that 2022 postseason run, and that we saw collapse in the World Series against the Astros and collapse in the NLCS against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Baseball goes beyond the numbers, at least in some sense, and that's coming from someone who is primarily numbers driven. But obviously what we learned and discovered last night, what we had long known, is that Kyle Schwarber is going to be on the very short list of National League MVP candidates, who I think has a non-zero chance to wind up as a finalist, which is to say top 3 in one of the greatest DH seasons of all time. A hitter who this year, for the first time in his career, has gone from being like a neutral to plus with a platoon disadvantage, which is to say against left-handed pitching, which has long been the one thing separating him from being a great hitter and a Hall of Fame hitter. Kyle Schwarber right now is a Hall of Fame hitter. If you can handle your own side to such an extent where you're hitting 23 bombs off of lefties in a season, that demonstrates your swing and your vision and your ability to stay closed as such that there's very few ways that you can obviously get out. And of course, in a playoff context, facing those nasty lefties that try to sweep the slider across the plate, he's not going to be as impervious as he was in years past. However, the Edmundo Sosa breakout game was perhaps even more significant because that is a guy, that is a Swiss Army knife that if the Phillies wind up winning the World Series is going to have to play a role of some kind. There is no question about it in my mind. His positional versatility on the dirt, combined with his continuously underrated ability to drive the baseball gap to gap, and last night we saw him run into 3, is something that will impact this team in October. Of that, there is no question. No team winds up winning the World Series. We can go back to 2008. We saw it with any number of those guys down the beaten path, impacting the game in certain ways at certain times. And Edmundo Sosa, someone with the versatility on the dirt and his ability to be a league average or better hitter, could make a huge difference, especially against the lefty in a high leverage moment in the postseason.
The big thing is we know their offense is so inconsistent, but one of the things, Hembo, about this team has been the pitching. How do we feel about this pitching? We know Wheeler's out. You see Suarez last night, Luzardo's dealing. Now, we talked about it in the first hour. Do you pitch Luzardo in game 2? Most people think Ranger. Do you go with the 3 lefties? We talked about the last time. You go with the 3 lefties. You don't overthink it. But is there a certain way you stack those 3 lefties? is this a bigger question than the offense?
Yes, not because of quality. The Phillies have the best pitching staff in baseball, even without Zach Wheeler. You can make a meaningful argument that the Phillies, in comparison to the other teams that are making this tournament, have as good a pitching situation front to back as anybody. That is not to say they don't have competition, because Milwaukee can really pitch and the Dodgers are getting healthy. Even the Reds have a really good staff if they wind up squeaking in on the National League side. But the reason why I have more questions about the Phillies pitching staff than I do the lineup, as you said, is deployment. The way in which Rob Thompson and that front office elects to deploy this pitching staff, especially the starters, could be eminently fascinating and the biggest reason why this team sinks or swims in the postseason. The one thing that needs to be said aloud over and over again, and we can demonstrate this numerically, or we can just choose to demonstrate this qualitatively because, of course, there's an art and a science to this. I want Jesus Luzardo pitching at home. I want Jesus Luzardo pitching in the friendly confines of Citizens Bank Park, and I will tell you exactly why. And I don't know how familiar you and your audience are with the general way in which teams are doing the best they can to steal signs right now. But suffice it to say that every single team in Major League Baseball, especially those that will be in the playoffs, are going to have an entire army of people that look and sound like me trying to decipher what pitch every guy is throwing in any context using the Kinetrax technology, the video technology in their home ballpark, which is to say, on the road, Jesus Luzardo, who we know has major tipping issues, not just this year, but throughout the entire career that he has had, which is why in some sense he has been so inconsistent, is going to be much more susceptible to the blow-up start or the blow-up inning in an opposing stadium. And I want to make that exceedingly clear. Ranger Suarez is someone whom I'm not nearly as concerned about in that context giving anything away. We have seen as a starter, as a reliever, that slow heartbeat, and in the playoffs, he is someone that I implicitly trust. I want to put the guy that I implicitly trust on the road in a hostile environment, place where I'm worried that if Jesus Luzardo, sort of knocks off his rocker just a little bit and starts to overthink things just a little bit, as we saw for a pretty substantial period of time during the regular season, I don't want him tipping his pitches. I don't want some person making $45,000 a year sitting 200 feet above the stadium, deciphering that either before the start or during the start. You're laughing. I'm not laughing because that could be a reason why the Phillies win or lose that game. I'm telling you, my friend, there has been more pitch stealing. There have been more pitch tipping based on the technology this year than every season in Major League history combined. I talked to players, I talked to analysts, I talked to people in the know. But I can tell you for certain, and we can see this in the splits of many Major League Baseball teams, you are going to be operating at a considerable disadvantage on the road if you're a pitcher who is susceptible to tipping your pitches.
All right. Now, that is a great breakdown from Hembo here. And don't forget, got your legends, the greatest legends in the teams that made them. This team here, this Phillies team, is trying to do something they haven't done since 2008. And those little intricacies are things you need to think about, because one of the things many people keep talking about is this Phillies bullpen, and to help their bullpen is having Suarez available to deploy out of the bullpen, much like they did in 2022. Is that a possibility that you see that they can do, or is he too important to this rotation?
I feel like that's a conversation that was best had before Zach Wheeler got hurt, don't you? I mean, ultimately, I would love if Ranger Suarez could be the ultimate Swiss Army knife, but nothing is more important than being able to get those 15 outs right now from your starting pitcher. What the numbers demonstrate is that for every inning your starter throws today, your bullpen's ERA the very next day is about 0.7 points better, close to a full run, candidly. And that's a huge deal in a playoff context that goes without saying. What happens tomorrow is critical. Obviously, you have your bullpen lined up every single day in the playoffs. But Philly's bullpen's not that deep. They don't have the number of trustworthy arms coming out of that pen, stuffy arms coming out of that pen, that I necessarily want my starter getting, 12 out, leaving the ball game clean and then turning it over. They're not going to have that luxury. And so, sure, on his pen day, if Ranger Suarez is needed, I trust him. But what's super important is him getting those 15 outs every fifth day. And you looked at the schedule just like I have. The Phillies aren't going to have to deploy a fourth starter potentially until, I think, game 6 of the NLCS, if I'm not mistaken, based on the way the schedule shakes out. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we've done the math correctly here. So I think the Phillies, I think it's pretty straightforward. Like the way in which you deploy these starters, 1, 2, and 3, I feel strongly about Luzardo pitching at home, but I don't think Ranger Suarez, the reliever, is something that you can even really think about aside from his pen days in a pinch. But ultimately, the Zach Wheeler injury, that's the kind of cascading effect that you'll see. Like, I could imagine a scenario in which the Phillies breeze through the NLDS, maybe even the NLCS based upon what they have. But as you well know, over a month in the postseason, it's a battle of attrition, and the cascading effect of Zach Wheeler not being there is such that you're going to need to lean on your starters to provide you considerably more length than you would have had to otherwise.
So what is the cause and effect? Wheeler's out, but the fact that you can't use because of Nola this year. Like, wouldn't in a perfect world the Phillies rather have Nola pitch game 2? But I guess they put their big boy pants on and realized they just can't do that because Dave Dombrowski did say in the past that, hey, we have all these lefties. We can move some of them to the bullpen. Now you can't move these guys to the bullpen because you can't trust Nola.
Look, you asked me the last time you and I spoke an excellent question that I did the best I could to debunk, but I came with numbers this time. You asked about the issue of going lefty within the context of a playoff series, and I told you I'm not the least bit concerned about it, in large part because on balance this season, the league has seen lefties shove in relation to righties more so than literally ever before. It was just to say, I looked at the earned run average of league-wide righties and lefties this season. I subtracted one from the other and discovered that the difference between the two in favor of the lefties is larger than in any season since earned runs became official in 1913. In other words, having lots of good lefties is really good, especially right now. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Aaron Nola is not someone I'm giving the ball to unless I desperately need him to take that ball. And even if I do give him that ball, he's only going to navigate the order at most 2 times through. That should go without saying. So ultimately, that's kind of how I feel about the Aaron Nola of it all and how little I'm worried about the Phillies going lefty. If those guys falter and struggle in the postseason, it's not going to be because they throw with the same hand, my friend. It's going to be because, baseball, Susan. It's baseball.
All right. By the way, we have a ton of text messages. We'll read them off in just a couple of minutes here. But
tremendous.
I know you're a numbers guy. First, does Schwarber pass Howard? And if he does, do you look at the Schwarber season even comparable to the Howard MVP season of 06?
Sure. If Kyle Schwarber didn't swing the bat one more time this season, I would consider this season a better season, a greater season than Ryan Howard's MVP season.
Wow.
And that might sound blasphemous.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why it's definitively not.
Blasphemous.
I will tell you why it is definitively not.
Okay.
The hitting environment. The hitting environment right now is so much more challenging than the year in which Ryan Howard went 58 and 149. Pitchers are considerably tougher breed species right now than they were nearly 20 years ago. And the fact that Kyle Schwarber is doing this in this context is remarkable. It would be the equivalent of Ryan Howard going 65 and 170. I'm not exaggerating. I ran the numbers. If you adjust these things era for era, season for season, Ryan Howard would need to have practically broken the National League home run record. 73, of course, is the number. He would have had to have gotten to the mid-60s for it to prorate favorably to Kyle Schwarber's season. Look, we know Ryan Howard couldn't play a lick of defense and couldn't run, so we're just comparing their bats, of course, because Kyle Schwarber's a DH. If you just compare the offensive output, Ryan Howard's numbers, as wonderful as they may be, are dumb guy stats. 58 and 149 are stats that look great on the back of a baseball card, but the underlying numbers, and when adjusting his numbers for the era in which he played, Kyle Schwarber comes out on top. This is not even an opinion. I'm expressing to you exactly what the hitting environment informs. Now, if you happen to believe that Ryan Howard's raw totals in 2006 were better, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. I'm telling you that the hitting environment to me is so important because that's the era in which Kyle Schwarber is thriving in relation to the era in which Ryan Howard thrived. And Kyle Schwarber against this level of competition, given how many more pitchers he's seen, given his proficiency against the lefties, to me, is an otherworldly feat, considering the context of the pitching league-wide.
All right. The one numbers that do stand out is he did hit .313 with a .425 on-base percentage that season, a .659 slug, and an OPS over 1. So those numbers do kind of say, whoa, I mean, for Ryan Howard, a player like Ryan Howard to hit .313 with a .425 on base, you don't think of Howard as a guy to hit for average.
No, most certainly not. But again, we need to do the best that we can to view these numbers through the prism of the time. Ryan Howard's adjusted OPS that season was 167. It was 67% above average. Kyle Schwarber's right now is 154. It's 13% less. These are comparable numbers. You look at the batting average. And say, oh, it's not close. But 313 in 2006 is like hitting 330 or 335 now. We're not comparing things like for like. Part of the beauty of baseball, of course, is that we can have conversations like these and compare numbers like for like. But if you're merely counting raw totals, then you have to consider the context of when you did it and how good the pitchers were. And all I'm telling you is that what Kyle Schwarber's doing in this environment is more favorable, is more difficult than what Ryan Howard did then. It's not to detract from Ryan Howard's ridiculous 2006 season, but it is to say that what Kyle Schwarber's doing right now is not lesser than, because what Kyle Schwarber's facing, what he's up against, is so much more challenging.
All right, let's rapid fire. That's a good conversation, though. And obviously you can check out more conversations like that in the book. Got Your Legends about your favorite franchise. They rank all 124. They give the Mount Rushmores for every single professional team. We've been asking you guys for your Phillies. Let's see whose matches. So once somebody nails it, you can let us know. All right, BC and Bowers Beach, Delaware says Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, Robin Roberts, Richie Ashburn. Is that the four?
That is not.
That is not the four. All right. Alex in Mays Landing, Ashburn, Schmidt, Rollins, Schwarber.
Incorrect.
Schmidt, Carlton, Ashburn, Ryan Howard.
That is incorrect. Have you not checked his adjusted stats based upon the hitting environment? That's wrong.
Schmidt, Pete Rose, Steve Carlton, Rollins. I think Rose was here too short.
That is incorrect. Pete Rose is a Red, not a Philly in our book.
Good call by you. Ashburn, Schmidt, Carlton, Utley.
No, but you're 3 for 4 there, and that was originally my choice before a last-minute change. You're getting awfully hot.
All right, the listeners are pummeling me with these text messages. Chuck Klein, Schmidt, Rollins, Harper. No good.
No, Chuck Klein played in a bandbox. His numbers are a little bit inflated by his ballpark.
Carlton, Schmidt, Rollins, Harper.
That is incorrect. I strongly considered Harper, but decided ultimately he's not won a chip yet. Maybe the next version of the book.
All right, Mike in the HT's got Schmidt, Carlton, Utley, Darren Dalton. I wouldn't think makes it.
Only 2 for 4 there. This is great.
Schmidt, Carlton, Roberts, Richie Ashburn.
No, 3 for 4 again.
All right, people, you got to start putting it together. You got 3 for 4s out there. Utley, Schmidt, Carlton, Tug McGraw. That can't be.
No, look, Utley's my all-time favorite Philly. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it based upon the constitution of that team and the way that at least I remember them.
Okay, so you got a clue there. Utley, he could not do. So this one's wrong. Ashburn, Schmidt, Carlton, Utley. You know that Utley's one of the more popular guys, so he keeps appearing on a lot of these. Carlton, Schmidt, Robin Roberts, Chuck Klein. You mentioned Klein is out. No good there. Schmidt, Harper, Rollins, Carlton.
I told you no Harper. No Harper here. Not until he wins a chip.
Okay, no Harper here. Holy mackerel. Let's see. I just lost track of where I won. I got bounced off.
I told you. I gave it a hint. You got to consider contributions, not just on the field, but also potentially in the booth.
Potentially in the booth. So, well, a lot of people have guessed Ashburn. Is he one of them?
Ashburn's one.
Okay, so Ashburn, Schmidt, and Carlton. They're the 3, right?
You got 3 for 3 so far.
I'm looking for some help from a lot of these texts. Dick Allen just got texted in.
No, he didn't make it, but he had some ridiculous seasons.
He did. Is it somebody from the 08 to 12 run in there?
It sure is.
So we're narrowing that down there. So is it Ryan Howard? No, you said
it is not Ryan Howard.
Okay, so let's see. Well, then it would possibly have to be of that crew. It's not Utley. It's not Rollins. There wasn't really.
No, I didn't. I told you it wasn't Utley, and I told you it wasn't Howard. I didn't tell you anything about the shortstop.
So then it would be Carlton, Schmidt, Rollins, and who was the other guy that we had on that we mentioned many times here?
Really quick, so if I could jump in. So
Ashburn.
So Joe in Pomona has Richie Ashburn, Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, Jimmy Rollins.
There you go.
Joe in Pomona is getting a signed copy of Got Your Legends by Mike Greenberg and Paul Hembekides. Very well done, Joe from Pomona.
There you go, Joe in Pomona. By the way, the amount of text messages coming in, I can't even keep up with them. That's why I apologize I lost. But Josh is back in the studio, and he's keeping track of when they came in. Hembo, this was fun. This was great. We're going to have to do it again once the playoffs get here.
Absolutely. Text me Josh's address. I want to send him a copy.
All right. We will connect you with that. And, of course, check out the book, everybody. Got Your Legends. You can get it now on Amazon. And, obviously, Joe and Pomona, you are our winner. Hembo, thanks, bud.
Later, bud.
All right, there you go. Paul Hembekides, everybody, on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Great job, everybody. He's getting a signed copy of the book. By the way, Phillies lineup is out. It's brought to you by Instant Services, South Jersey's premier HVAC, plumbing, electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to learn their preventative maintenance memberships and how they can keep your systems running strong year-round. Bader, Schwarber, Harper's back.
Yes.
Bohm, Marsh, Real Muto's back.
Yes, again.
Kepler, Stott, and Sosa. Bueller is on the mound tonight for the Phillies. And that's your Phillies lineup brought to you by Instant Services. Go to instantservices.com. Well, Hembo was great. I mean, he gave you facts, stats, numbers. Go check out his book, everybody. It's Got Your Legends with Mike Greenberg and Paul Hembekides. When we come back, we're going to give you some winners. Our college football betting expert, Jeff Nadu, is back this season for another season of football. We got off to a slow start we couldn't get our schedules aligned, but we're back. Nadu's back right here on the Sports Bash.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget, it's the place where the players go. The Sweet Heat Wings from A.J. Brown, the Team 62 combo, and all the college football, the pro football, and the Phillies playoff baseball you'd ever want. It's all right here at Chickies and Pete's at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. Right across from me is the Sports Book, and we're going to try to get some winners right here on the Sports Bus. Our buddy Jeff Nadu, our college football betting expert, is back for another season here on the Sports Bash. And, of course, nobody does it better when it comes to college football. The plays right now here on the Sports Bash. There's Jeff Nadu. If you're watching on the YouTube channel and on the X platform, he joins us now for some college football plays of the week. Welcome back, Jeff.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Good to see you. Hope all is well, brother.
All is well. We're in AC, man. AC misses you.
I'll tell you what, I had some great times at the Trop over the years, man. For a long time, it was my second home. But I was actually down in AC a couple of months ago. I got to get in touch with you when I'm down there next.
Yeah, man, let me know. We're hanging out today over at the Tropicana, the sports books over there. I know you got some great plays for the college football season, which is a good week. Last week, not a great slate of games, but a good card this week. A lot of big, high-profile games. So let's dive into some of your favorite plays this week. Jeff, I'm going to start off with a Jeff Nadu-esque type of game. You like this Rice and Navy game to start off our card today.
Yeah, you know, for me, Mike, it's not about what game is on TV or what high-profile game I can watch. I'm trying to win money. You know, at the end of the day, I'm trying to cash. So I look at this game, and to me, is it an exciting game? No. This is going to be a tough game to watch. This is a game you bet, and you check in a couple of hours and see how it did. These are two of the slowest teams in America. Between plays, they average about 30 and a half seconds, which is ungodly slow. To put that into perspective, the fastest team in the country is at 18 seconds. So these two teams are very, very slow. Both these football teams do not want to throw the ball. The goal is to run the ball as much as possible. We know Navy over the years, they've been that triple option team. One of the only things Rice does well on defense is stop the run. They've actually been quite good. This is a Navy team that is also very good against the run. For as good as Navy's offense has been over the last year or two, when they play Rice, it just kind of slows down. Last year, same team, Navy scored 24. They only give up 10. It was a low-scoring, ugly football game. I think the clock just winds in this game. Not going to be a lot of big plays. I think these teams kind of fill each other out. It's going to be a lot of running up the middle, under 45 and a half to play, Mike.
All right, under the play on that one. You talk about two slow teams. Tonight's game, by the way, I know the game, what's East Carolina Army. You got one team that runs the ball every time, and the other one throws the ball every time, right? East Carolina, that's all they do is throw, and Army runs the ball 68 times a game. You have a thought on tonight's Thursday nighter?
Yeah, I would lean over for as much as Army kind of sits on the ball. They'll break away a big play a lot. They're not a real good defense, as you kind of talked about. ECU is going to throw the ball a lot. They're also top 10 in America in pace per play. They go very quick. They want to throw the ball, and they've beaten up a couple of teams this year. They threw the ball all over NC State. The problem that ECU has is, Mike, they are poor in the red zone. They're bad on fourth down, a lot of bad penalties. I actually like Army to win this game. I think they get the job done here. They're just a more disciplined team. They're very good on third and fourth down. ECU does a lot of things to lose football games. It's very irritating. This number's come down. It was 5.5. People have come in and bet on Army here. I thought this was a 2-3 point game at most. I'll take the points with Army here.
What was the quarterback at ECU? It was there for like 10 years, man.
Jane Carden.
No, the lefty.
Holton Ahlers.
Holton Ahlers, yeah. Ran into him at the bowl game last year. Nice dude. Hung out.
Yeah, I've actually so I do some radio stuff with their radio group down there, and he's actually on the radio occasionally when I'm on. So yeah, he's cool. He's a good guy. He's always very nice to me.
Yeah, I ran into him in Annapolis. I went to the Military Bowl last year and hung out with him.
Mike, I'll tell you what.
I just happened to see him, and my girlfriend who went to ECU was like, "Isn't that the quarterback?"
Yeah. Well, I told him, I said, you made me a lot of money over the years, man. He was a good quarterback, Holton Ahlers. So, good for him. He's a nice guy. Glad you got to meet him.
And he's a legend in that area.
Yes, he is. Well, his father was his father's the play-by-play guy there for their game. So
On the radio, right.
he's got a lot of involvement in the program. Yeah, they love him down there.
All right, Hawaii Air Force. This is Saturday, 4 o'clock. Hawaii is getting 6.5 against another military academy. Air Force favored by 6.5, over under 53.5.
Well, you know, Mike, when I first started betting many years ago, people realized quite quickly that I always had a good read with the military schools, and we've talked all military schools so far. I'm going to play another one here. Air Force hasn't been exactly, a great mover and shaker this year, but this is a good spot for them. They're back at home in Colorado Springs, which is never an easy place to go play, and you've got a Hawaii team that's only been on the road once in 5 games. It was a 40-6 loss at Arizona. Now they got to deal with the triple option middle of the season. But I'll tell you something. This Air Force team changed quarterbacks recently. They brought in this kid, Liam Zarka. He's not your typical, just run the ball up the middle option quarterback. He threw the ball 18 times last week. He is a good thrower. He can move the football through the air. This is a guy who gives them a new dynamic, a new dimension. They put a lot of points on the board last week against a good Boise team. This is a Hawaii team that can't really move the ball through the air. And, Mike, they have the worst offensive line in America. Nobody has been sacked more than Hawaii's quarterback. It's taken him out of football games. This is a good Air Force defensive line. I think it's a good matchup for the Flyboys. I think they get the job done here. I played 5.5. It's up to 6.5. I think anything under 7 is a dynamite play. Let's play the Falcons here.
All right, under 7. If you get it under 7, take Air Force there. My guy Chuck in Margate, he's loving that. He's an Air Force guy over there, so he's doing some
shout out to
jacks
Chuck
right now. Tennessee, Mississippi State, good one on paper here. Mississippi State 0-8 in conference games last season. They've lost 12 straight SEC games. Are they different now? This Tennessee team's different from the one from last year.
Yeah, they are. And if you like offense, this is the game for you. When you play overs, Mike, in college football, you have to look for certain things. Obviously, I've talked a lot about pace, how often the teams throw the football. These are 2 of the fastest teams in America. Tennessee 3rd. I think Mississippi State's like 20th. Both these teams want to go, go, go. Tennessee's offense is fun. They've got plenty of weapons. Joey Aguilar's a gunslinger who really commands a field. This is the guy, Mike, if you're a team, you're looking for a quarterback next year, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, Joey Aguilar is a guy that I would take a look at. He is starting to look like an NFL quarterback. He's got a lot of poise. He's a warrior. And look, they're not a real good defense. You can move the ball in Tennessee, particularly through the air. Mississippi State, as you talked about, totally different team. They brought in plenty of weapons on the offensive side. Blake Shapen can move the ball. This was a team last year. I liked in overs because they couldn't stop anybody and they threw the ball a ton. They're a little more balanced this year, but they can throw the ball. I don't know if you could set Tennessee totals high enough. This one's moved up. I think it's probably like a 38, 28, 42, 27 type of game. I like the over here.
All right, over in Mississippi State, Tennessee. That is 61.5 right now. Let's go to the big game. You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Number 6, Oregon. Penn State, number 3. 3.5 Penn State's the favorite in the game here. Oregon is 11-5 against the spread against ranked teams under Dan Lanning. Penn State is one of only 3 teams in the whole country to be undefeated, but they haven't covered one time yet this year. And generally when Penn State steps up in competition, people always mock them. But this Oregon team is way different from the team last year. A little bit of a surprise so far.
Yeah, I think what I would do if you're a gambler and you're looking forward to this game, you need to take everything you've seen from Penn State and throw it all out the window. None of it means anything. You're going to hear a lot of these talking heads talking about what happened last year and 5 years ago. None of that matters. That is a good stat, though, that they've not covered. I will make a point. They've been a huge favorite in all those games, and in 2 of them, one of them, they had a back door with about 20 seconds to go. Villanova was a rough beat as well for them. So they've been laying big numbers. Mike, the truth of the matter is Penn State has shown you nothing on offense. They've been vanilla. That's what they're going to do. They've been circling this game. Okay, it's that simple. They got blown out last year. This is a huge game. The first 3 meant nothing, and they could have had 3rd stringers playing, and they would have won. This is the game where you see everything thrown out there. This is a must-win, and I think Penn State's going to get it. We have to remember last year, They made it all the way to the Final Four, and they were one play away from playing for a national title. So for all these people that talk about James Franklin never wins a big game, okay, you're right, and he doesn't beat Ohio State a lot of the time, but he won big games last year. This is a big game. You're throwing Dante Moore, the quarterback for Oregon, into the fire here in the toughest place to play in America. This number tells you all you need to know. I think Penn State wins this game 28-20, 27-21. It's not going to be easy, but they'll do enough to get the job done here. They've actually been a pretty good favorite over the last 10 games, covering 6 of 10, even though they've not covered in 3 straight here to open the season. So take that away. They've actually been a pretty good favorite. Give me Penn State. I think they win here.
All right, Penn State to play for the game. You can listen to it right here on 97.3 ESPN. 3 games tomorrow. You like any of the Friday action for the people?
Yeah, it's actually a good card.
Yeah.
You know, a market that I like to bet is the Heisman. A guy not a lot of people are talking about plays tomorrow. His name is Josh Hoover. He's the quarterback at TCU. Really good football player. Thrown for 1,000 yards already, 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He has commanded a really good offense there in TCU. They have to go to play Arizona State. Your kind of preemptive favorite to start the season. Kind of looked average. They've been playing better lately. This is a great football game. I like TCU a lot. I think Josh Hoover goes in and gets the job done there. Florida State, Virginia, that's a good game too. Should see some points here. Virginia can actually move the football. They can't really stop anybody, though. And Florida State is the best scoring offense in America, though they have played a lot of cupcakes over the last couple. I think that's kind of like a 38-28 type of game. This is a big game for Virginia, Mike. They have a coach there, Tony Elliott. This is kind of his barometer game. It's the biggest game, I think, in his career so far there at Virginia. They're a touchdown dog at home. Charlottesville's going to be rocking. That should be a fun back-and-forth game.
Yeah, you're right. Good card tomorrow night. You got 3 games. You got the 7, 9, and 10:30. So it sounds like a lot of action for the people out there. Jeff Nadu is back. There you go. We gave you 5 plays and then a little bonus Friday nighter for you at Jeff Nadu on the X platform, and you can check out all the stuff that he's doing. He's a content machine when it comes to college football, and it's. I'm glad we were able to connect this week.
Yeah, you too, Mike. Always good to see you. Always good to chat. And, yeah, hopefully we'll do it next week. Good luck to everybody out there.
All right, Jeff. Appreciate it, man. There's Jeff Nadu, everybody. At Jeff Nadu for all his picks and plays and insight and analysis on the college football world. And you got it right here on the Sports Bash Live. He's been a busy guy recently, man. He's been all over the place, moving and shaking. His picks, as always, are highlighted here, though, on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. So thanks to Jeff for that. We'll do another season of Jeff with all the college football plays. Coming up, we got the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Some Sixers news, by the way, that just came down. Not good. Injury number 1 has already happened. Jared McCain has a UCL tear in his thumb. And looks like he will be out. What is it, Pete?
4 to 8 weeks if it's not surgery. If it's surgery, double that, 8 to 16.
Okay, so 4 to 8 weeks if he needs surgery, which the opening day for the Sixers is coming up October.
End of October, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like October 22nd, I want to say.
But they fly to Abu Dhabi over the weekend. They play preseason games against the Knicks out there.
Yeah, they got 2 preseason games against the Knicks in Abu Dhabi coming up. They play the Knicks on the 2nd, October the 2nd. The opening game of the season for the Sixers, they play Boston on October 22nd. Yeah, so it's October 22nd. So that would be a little over a month from now, which sounds like Jared McCain would not be ready if he's on the low end of that. So according to Tim Bontemps, Jared McCain, a UCL tear in his right thumb during a workout today. He and the team are working with specialists to decide how they want to proceed. Media day is tomorrow, so they haven't even really started camp yet.
We're going to find out a bunch of information tomorrow.
Unbelievable.
You know, it's they announced the black jerseys yesterday. Everyone's feeling good. Embiid's skinny.
Yeah, then they announced the black cloud.
And then the
black jerseys, then the black cloud.
Black jerseys led to the black cloud, yes.
The unsportsmanlike moment of the day is up next.
Jalen Hurts against Todd Bowles is 1-4. The way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, how they've personneled that team to execute the scheme, is a matchup nightmare for the Philadelphia Eagles. Because the last thing a bully wants to do is to have someone do the exact same thing to them that they do to everybody else. And that is who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. They are in your face all the time, both sides of the ball. There are a lot of teams that try to convince themselves they can bully the Philadelphia Eagles. The difference with the Tampa Bay Bucs is they know they can do it.
Chris Canty this morning on Unsportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day, brought to you by White Horse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings on 2025s and select pre-owned RVs. Shop now before they're gone at White Horse RV. Your RV adventure starts. Here is Canty right. Can the Buccaneers bully the Eagles? Here's what I'll say about that. They have matched up poorly against Todd Bowles' defenses. However, one of the themes of this week so far is the struggles that the Eagles have had against the Buccaneers. We continue to point out, last year they played the Buccaneers, A.J. Brown, DNP, Devontae Smith, DNP, Lane Johnson, DNP. Try bullying me without those three guys. You're probably going to kick my ass, and guess what? You did. Now, they played in a playoff game in 2023, that year when the Eagles just absolutely fell apart. Who did not play in that game? A.J. Brown did not play in the playoff game against that Eagles team that absolutely fell apart.
Yeah,
I don't think
A.J.'s played in many of those games.
He didn't play last year. He didn't play in the playoff game. And the first time they played against them was in Hurts' first year. Brown wasn't on the team. That was the year where Devontae Smith was all they really had, and they lost that game down there. So that's 3 of the losses, no A.J. Brown in those games. Now, you've got to toughen up and figure out ways to go after this defense. They have really confused and bothered you, but I'll take my chances with A.J. and Devontae finally being a part of the offense, something they haven't been in many of the matchups against them. But so far, Canty's not wrong. They have bullied the Eagles a little bit, but they bullied them without their biggest participant on offense in all those games. You can listen to that game right here on Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on the call. The coverage starts at noon and the kickoff at 1 o'clock. You're home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of football, Adam Caplan, Football at 4 is next. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And, of course, it's a Thursday. We're getting closer to the Eagles and the Buccaneers. We'll break it all down. Adam Caplan's in today. The Eagles suffering injuries. Sixers now have an injury problem. As we just told you, Jared McCain suffered a torn UCLA tear in his, not UCLA, a UCL tear in his right thumb. That will probably force him to miss the start of the season. Nolan Smith yesterday and others. We're going to talk about the Eagles and how it affects them and more right now. Adam Caplan is in for today's edition of Football at 4. Well, the hits just keep on coming for these teams all of a sudden. Adam, what's going on, man?
It's not torn, but he's when you stretch your triceps, when you strain it, you're stretching the fiber, so that's not good. So they've got a problem. Dory Jackson with the groin injury. Jacorian Bennett, Jeff saw, he watched the All-22. He did say he might have unfortunately hurt his shoulder. Now, Mike, Jacorian Bennett, although Andrew had reported that, Andrew Checker reported that the surgery was not needed for whatever the injury is, we should mention that Jacorian Bennett has had shoulder surgeries on both. So let's hope it's not too bad. But, Mike, yeah, all of a sudden, Mike,
yep,
the Eagles have injury problems.
Yeah, obviously the big one would be right now Nolan Smith, because we know he is not there. Bond, if he couldn't play, Campbell, if he couldn't play, you'd be looking at Smile Mondin and Jeremiah Trotter, I would imagine, as the linebacking core there. Adoree Jackson and Bennett, if both those guys, now we know Bennett is out. If Jackson couldn't go, I guess Ringo's name keeps coming up. They did activate Perry Nickerson. They elevated Eli Ricks to the practice squad, so they are preparing for some things here. But Nolan Smith, we know, is out. So now what? What's the plan at edge with no Nolan Smith? How big of a loss is this for the Eagles defense?
It is. He's the best edge rusher now. Zadarius Smith has way more experience. He's much bigger physically, and that does matter. But none of their edges really without help, without blitzing last week. They just could not get consistent pressure. But when they blitzed, Fangio's blitz rate is way up this season. Why? Because he has to. We told you for the whole offseason we had concerns about their pass rush. It's come up. Vic Fangio had those same concerns because he's blitzing. They've got a problem. We expect Zadarius Smith to see a lot of those reps. Josh Uche is very good in that third role. Now, Okonkwo, we expect him to actually play this week. Azeez Ojulari should be active, Mike. It's not a lot, but he should be. We know that they only play 3 or 4 edges anyway, but they've got to figure out a way to get a pass rush from Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, I won't get to the Bucs injuries in a second, is playing really, really well. What a story he's been to turn out around a career where he was the first pick overall in 2018, and until he got to Tampa, Mike, he was a bust, but he's been playing really good football last couple seasons.
No, Adam, last year the Eagles, they had pass rushing, questions, and then all of a sudden, Brandon Graham ended up getting hurt. But by the end of the year, their pass rushing questions kind of went away. Do they feel that they have the in-house options here for the next couple of weeks? Or, they already brought Zadarius Smith in. Do they need to kick the tires outside the organization? Or do you anticipate Ojulari, Uche getting, some more reps?
No, that's what we just said. They're going to get those reps, Mike. But let's extrapolate and go down. You mentioned a couple weeks. So we're now in week 4. When we get to week 8, when we get to the trade deadline in 4 weeks, Mike, if it doesn't improve, and Howie Roseman loves trading draft picks, that's when you do it.
Yeah.
And they're not done at corner. They'll evaluate that one. Corner is a much bigger need than edge. I'm not saying they're set with edge. They know they're not. But they like to be able to see. They love to get Ojulari on the field. He's the guy who they signed to be that hopefully the starter. It didn't work out, or at least compete against Jalen Hunt. It never worked out. He's actually not playing at all this season. Okonkwo, who was signed off the street, the Browns cut him. Uche's kind of revived his career. He's a smaller, quick edge rusher. But the big one is Darius Smith. He's a good football player who just turned 33. The Lions were not going to pay him. They cut him in the offseason. They did, as I'm told, they were interested in bringing him back at some point potentially. But there was a money problem there. They just didn't agree with the money he was making, and any potential for him to come back to the Lions was beat because the Eagles got him, and he's going to play a lot this week. So, and he did talk about it yesterday with the media. He knows that it's still a learning process. This is different from Jim Schwartz's 43 front. It's different from the other 34 fronts that he's played in. This is more of a 5-man front. The responsibilities are different. He'll probably line up inside a little bit here. So it's going to be different. But, Mike, Howie Roseman will assess this.
Yeah.
Because one thing you got to understand, Mike, and I felt this way coming into the season, I think it's definitely true, there are no dominant football teams this season. The Ravens are disappointing, 1-2. Their defense isn't very good. The Chiefs are 1-2. The Bills are 3-0, Mike, but their defense isn't very good. So it's completely wide open, Mike, in both conferences to make another run. And the Eagles are a edge rush away right now from being a major factor. Plus, they're one of 6 teams 3-0. You could say what you want the way that they've looked, but they are 3-0.
They are, and obviously this Nolan Smith thing, as you said, it kind of came out of nowhere. Hey, all of a sudden he's on the injured list, and he is out now. So we will watch closely to see what they do to replace him, how they kind of divvy up those snaps this week. And obviously that means someone's going to flip to the other side too, right? I mean, that's the other thing is he primarily took one side and then Hunt and the other guys kind of rotated. But he was pretty much getting a bulk of the snaps where the other guys have kind of been rotating, right?
Well, you talking about edge?
Right. When you look at Nolan Smith on the one side of the field.
You said Nolan Smith. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. Yes. Yeah. So, look, that's going to be their plan. Za'Darius should be able to play both sides, and that's what they're going to have to do, play the left side. Hunt's the right edge rusher.
Okay.
And then, of course, you got the cornerback position, which is absolutely decimated, Mike. Look, Mike Evans is not going to play with his grade 1+ hamstring strain. He's had major hamstring challenges over his career. That's really the one injury he's had since college, since Texas A&M. He's had constant hamstring problems. But yeah, they've got a problem. Opposite Quinion, Mitchell Tonic, we didn't know that before the season started. You mentioned Adoree Jackson earlier here, Mike, and we knew it was going to be a struggle with Adoree. He hasn't played particularly well. He's been up and down, and you look at the situation now with what they have with Ja'Cory Bennett going on IR. No, the next up is Keely Ringo. Now, Ringo, he was beaten out soundly. We know that. That wasn't close in training camp for the second straight summer. It was over very early. He was actually at times running third team. So Perry Nickerson was added from their practice squad. He's a nickel. He's a shorter corner. Mm-hmm. Ringo's got ideal speed and length, but as we reported at the time when he was drafted, personnel people told us he had significant stiffness in his lower hips. It's still there. Can't get rid of it. He runs well in a straight line. He has trouble stopping, as Greg Cosell told us. So these are the issues, folks. But you're not going to have to. The Eagles will not have to face Mike Evans. Look for Emeka Egbuka to play that X position. If Chris Godwin plays, and the Bucs are very optimistic that he will, it would make more sense to him to play inside. Nothing set yet, but it would make more sense. And that's it. They don't have great depth because Jalen McMillan, a third rounder a couple years ago, who would be the third receiver this week, he's on injury reserve. So they're down 2 receivers. This absolutely helps the Eagles. There's no question about it. If Mike Evans was playing, and I know I'm not on tomorrow, Andrew is. I would be, if Mike Evans was playing, I'd probably pick the Bucs. But without him, Mike, you could say what you want. I know the Eagles have problems at corner opposite Mitchell, but that you don't have to worry about Mike Evans and his strength. He's an incredible football player and a surefire Hall of Famer someday.
Yeah, and the Eagles had struggles with Tampa Bay, but one of the big things is A.J. Brown has not played. Last year, A.J. Smith and Lane Johnson did not play in those games. That does change the perplexion, but one of the things, and we played this last hour, Chris Canty was talking about this morning, which is, and I want to get your opinion on this, is, he says a team like Tampa has given them problems because, of now, of course, they've missed key personnel, but that they're willing to be physical enough with the Eagles where a lot of teams can't match, like the Rams, can't match their physicality.
Yeah, well, look, you could throw out week 4 last year at 1:00 with those 3 key players on offense. It has no relevance to me. It means nothing to me when you're evaluating the game because Smitty and Brown didn't play Lane Johnson. Of course they can't compete. That game was a blowout. I remember thinking, like, maybe because the Eagles are so competitive, I picked the Bucs to win, but I thought they could make it close. No, it was 33-16. Now, let's go to that playoff game, Mike. You mentioned what happened. And this is in the midst of the Eagles being an absolute train wreck. And they lost 32. And that was just really, really bad, Mike. I mean, they were not competitive. And you might remember some years ago also when they played the Bucs, that's when who is the guy? Ryan Kerrigan, was signed, and then Josh Sweat wound up not playing due to that illness that came out crazy right before the game. It was very serious, but he obviously was fine afterwards. But yeah, context matters, man. You don't get that on the internet or social media. People never use context or rarely do. But this is the context. I'm not a cheerleader. I call it down the middle. It has no consequence who wins or loses to me, although it's good for inside the birds if the Eagles win more than they lose. But you got to have context. So again, throw last year out. Both teams have significant injury concerns. Mike Evans is a major one. Oh, but now the Bucs do believe that Tristan Wirfs, their all-pro left tackle, has a very good chance of playing, but they won't know until after Friday's practice. They seem to be more optimistic on Godwin, but they have to go through the next 2 days. And I do want to mention this. We're going to talk more about this on our pregame show with Greg Cosell. They have 5 starting offensive line changes from last season due to injury. Their center, Graham Barton, has moved to left tackle. Elijah Klein's at left guard. He started his first NFL game. Ben Bredesen, who was going to play guard, is playing center. They signed a kid off their practice squad last week, Luke Haggard, to start at right guard. Charlie Heck, who was going to back up a left tackle, he moved to right tackle for Luka Decky, who was on injury reserve. So, Mike, hey, I know Nolan's not playing, but this is an advantage for the Eagles. Let's be real here.
Well, especially in a week when you're like a pass rusher, right? I mean, hey, you're down a pass rusher. They're down multiple offensive linemen here. So you got to figure out a way to get through these 4 weeks here.
Yeah.
It all starts this Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, they're the only team since the merger who has won on the last possession, each of their first 3 wins that turned out to be wins for them. So they are kind of scratching and clawing with these victories, much like the Eagles have been. They've had a lot of close, wonky finishes. In fact, they had a blocked field goal in their game that almost cost them last week. So that's an area of this game to watch, right, Adam, is special teams.
It is. Now, the Eagles have to, and I know they're working on it, the 5 mishandled kickoffs. They're lucky they didn't fumble it. They just, because they're wobblers, it's the way that it's a strategy that some teams employ where they pop it up and the ball wobbles, and you have to be better with ball security. But Braden Mann's been phenomenal as a punter. Jake Elliott's back; he's been great. They got to be better just overall in kickoff returns. They're just not very good at it, and that's something that they have to continue to work with. But overall, it's a really good football team. They somehow they're 3-0. I know some people are like, I feel like it's 2023 all over again. Let's have more information. Let's let them get healthier. But folks, we know going into the season, edge was a problem. The corner position opposite Mitchell was a problem. That's not changing right now. And Howie Roseman I'm sure will address it if he's not happy by the trade deadline. He always does when he can.
All right. And they have a lot of ammunition, draft picks to make something happen. We'll keep an eye on that. Adam Caplan pinch hitting for Andrew today. Andrew will be on tomorrow's show for football at 4 right here on the Sports Bash when we get a look closer at the matchups to watch between the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Adam, thanks, man.
You got it. Thank you.
Adam Caplan, everybody. Football at 4. The Nolan Smith thing, let's dive into that a little deeper here because obviously with Smith out, what's the plan at edge rusher now that we've had a little time to think about this? He talked about Zadarius Smith can flip over and play the other side, so maybe he and Hunt become the starters and play those outside positions there, these edge positions, I should say. Josh Uche has been playing, Pro Football Focus is saying he's one of the best edge rushers in football. Pro Football Focus also said that Matt Pryor was the best graded Eagles offensive lineman last week. So take those numbers sometimes with a major grain of salt.
Like a pound of salt.
Matt Pryor was the best offensive lineman last week. Yeah, that one gave me a chuckle. But, for the most part, I think Uche will now get an uptick in snaps because he's been – obviously Ojulari hasn't even been active yet. I would imagine now it'll be interesting to see if they activate him or Obu, right? Who gets the the game day bump there on Sunday. That'll be something to keep an eye on because I am pretty surprised that Ojulari has not been able to crack the field or even the 53-day, the game day roster.
Well, how much of that is maybe Fangio, right? Fangio wouldn't let Bryce Huff on the field barely at all at the beginning of the year last year because he couldn't stop the run. Maybe is Ojulari a guy who can't stop the run, Mike?
I think it's possible, but I don't think he was here to stop the run. I think he was here to be like a situational pass rusher. I could be wrong about that, but I think most of those guys were here to kind of bring in some pass rush. But if you can't stop the run, I'm sure that is something that, is taken under consideration. You're not just going to go out there and pin your ears back every single play. But Josh Uche, not a great run stuffer either. The one question would be is if Nolan Smith, and I know could they use Jahad Campbell in that role? The problem with Campbell is he's also a little banged up too.
Right, he's got a brace on his arm at practice today, one of those tricep braces, which makes you nervous because you just saw that Nolan Smith went on the injured list with a tricep issue himself.
Yeah, so my thought was, Dallas did this a couple of years ago where they just took Micah Parsons and made him an edge rusher. I mean, remember, he was a linebacker at first. And they had so many injuries, Dallas, that they just decided, hey, we'll deploy him as an edge rusher. Could the Eagles, do they have enough faith in guys like Jeremiah Trotta Jr., Smile Mondin, and say, you guys are going to play linebacker, and Campbell, you're going to go and we're going to deploy you as an edge rusher? Is that a possibility? Really haven't heard much of that. Well, we'll see.
I mean, with both linebackers, Bond and Jahad, not practicing, and they might be out. Dean is still on
they
IR.
practiced today. They practiced today.
Both of them did.
Yeah.
Yes, they both practiced today. So Campbell practiced. He had one of those big weird braces on his arm. Bond had one of those compression sleeves on his leg.
Okay, so they're not going to be 100%, but they might play.
Right. But I think the larger thing is that Mike, you asked the question about Uche and Zadarius Smith. So Uche so far this year has played 28% of the snaps. So he's not like he's on the field all the time this year. Meanwhile, Smith in his first 2 games is averaging 22 snaps a game. So you have 2 guys who have been used in a part-time role. Mike and Pete, are you guys comfortable with Uche and Smith, Zadarius Smith, getting a larger role moving forward?
I think you're going to have
to. Going to have to, yes. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm uncomfortable, but I think you have to find out whether him – and then I'm interested – by the way, what a catch that was. Did you see that home run? He just snagged that home run. It was unbelievable in the Reds game over there. I would be interested to see who the next man up is because I think Uche now gets a little bit of an uptick in snaps, no question there.
And again, for whatever reason, the coaches seem to favor Uche over Ojulari.
Correct.
So far, yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yep. Well, I say so far, right. He hasn't been active even
right,
yet.
He hasn't
so
dressed for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not like he's getting 3 less snaps. He's not even active on those days.
Right.
So,
which leads you to wonder, even with Nolan Smith down, is Ojulari going to get snaps? Or as Mosher mentioned yesterday, Okonkwo, is that a guy who slides in?
Right, well, that's what I was asking. Which one of those 2 guys becomes active this week? One of those 2 guys you would think is the next man up in terms of active, and then they move into the Uche role. Uche maybe moves into, Zadarius Smith's role. Zadarius Smith kind of moves into Nolan Smith's role, possibly. So we'll see how that all unfolds. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Sal Paolantonio joins us tomorrow night, as he always does, at 5 o'clock for a Sal Pal Friday here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, on the X platform and YouTube at Mike Gill Show. You can follow on YouTube and on the X platform and watch the show on your phone device. Red just got a huge back-to-back plays by that guy. He robbed a homer and then made another play out in right field.
I believe they're still winning.
Yes, 2-1 Reds.
2-1, okay.
2-1 Reds. They're playing for a wild card spot. They're a game behind the Mets right now. Big news today from the Sixers. Jared McCain suffered a UCL tear in his right thumb during a workout today. The Sixers are consulting with specialists on the next steps, but it seems that he will miss at least the opener, probably 4 to 6 weeks on that injury. He'll play this year. He'll be back, but, man, he was a guy last year, 15 points a game, 38% from 3. Then he tears his meniscus. For all the people out there, you have every right to say, here we go again.
It's true.
Here we go again. They
It
just
is
cannot get past these ridiculous injuries.
And Quentin Grimes remains unsigned.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's even going to travel to Abu Dhabi with the team when they go next week to play the Knicks.
And now all of a sudden he's important, right? If you lose a guy in that backcourt.
I will say the one thing, Jared McCain, if he's out, VJ Edgecombe you did draft, so you would imagine that he maybe bumps into that role as the off guard. And then you have Quentin Grimes if he comes back. So you still are pretty deep at that off guard position. But I was really looking forward. McCain is like such a joy to watch. He's just such a pleasant guy to like have on your team. He's just always happy and smiling, and he's a joy. He was one of the only positives of that season last year.
And he didn't even play the whole season.
No, when he was playing,
Right, yeah,
when he didn't play, I said.
But we haven't seen him on a basketball court in a game.
No,
since
December, right around Christmas is when he got hurt. All right, when we come back, it's Nuggets time. Knicks Nuggets are on the way. Tomorrow, don't forget, we are live over at The Roost. Come on out and check us out for The Roost. If you're a fan of the Ryder Cup, they're doing all sorts of stuff for the Ryder Cup this weekend. They've got all sorts of specials and things going on for Ryder Cup weekend. So check that out tomorrow with us at The Roost in Egg Harbor Township over at Harbor Pines. Stop out and see us on tomorrow's show right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, today we are live at Chickies and Pete's at Atlantic City Tropicana, where you can get the Sweet Heat Wings by A.J. Brown, the Team 62 combo by Jason Kelsey, and so many more great options on the menu here. Come where the players go. Chickies and Pete's, Atlantic City.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN here at Chickies and Pete's, Tropicana, Atlantic City. And it's go where the players go, Chickies and Pete's. They got so much happening. You know it's the place to watch all the football games. And tonight you got Thursday Night Football. You got Phillies and Marlins. You've got all these baseball playoff games. Late season games with playoff implications like this Reds-Pirates game that's going on right now.
That's
where the
over
guy
now.
just saved. Was that the game-winning catch, by the way?
I'm not sure if it was game winner, but the game is over, so the Reds did win.
2-1, so the Reds win. All right, so they put the pressure on, and, of course, we'll keep our eye on all the playoff games and the action. And the playoffs all start next week. You can listen to select playoff games and all Phillies playoff games right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, time for Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is host of the Shift podcast, and he is the producer of The Locker Room, although this weekend he will be hosting The Locker Room Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. You can also check out his Earnshaw Radio on all social media platforms. What's going on, Nick?
What's going on, Mike? What's going on, PG? And by the way, I got to address the elephant in the room. As I was getting off the air yesterday, Mike didn't mention while I was on the air, you wore sneakers to your prom with the suit. Is this correct?
Tuxedo.
You went tuxedo with sneakers. I've never gone tuxedo. I've gone suit with the sneakers. That should have been addressed during the beginning of Nuggets yesterday.
That is a strange one.
Yeah, well, I wore black Vans because,
Black
basically
Vans?
They were more comfortable than dress shoes.
Oh.
I'm 18 years old.
Oh, I don't get a pass at 25?
No. I mean, the tuxedo's the worst look out of everything. I mean, that's a terrible look.
I know. You're not a big suit guy. All right, we'll get into the Nuggets. By the way, I was going to start with a Phillies nugget, but we have been bombarded with about like a 10-piece of Sixers stuff going on here in this afternoon. I mean, first, let's just start. Nugget number one, it's just going to be Sixers. That's how we're going to name the nugget today, and we're going to go down the list, all right? The first thing that comes out today is that the 76ers guard Kyle Lowry has officially joined Amazon Prime as part of its NBA coverage. Will have studio appearances this season with increased responsibilities in the future. First of all, why? Why is he taking up a roster spot at this point? There is no reason for him to take up a roster spot. Now he's going to do TV. He's going to be increased appearances in studio. Just be a coach. Kyle, just be a coach at this point in your career. This stage, might as well just be a coach. That's the number one nugget that I just got to get off my chest. Now, number two, Jared McCain suffers a UCL tear in his right thumb during a workout today. We're already getting started. And then Tim Bontemps reports that Edgecombe was the third pick in the draft, and he is, with Grimes remaining unsigned, he is the guy who they looks like going to get more run. Okay, and that makes sense with the way things are shaking out right now. Okay, all that comes out, and now with Gina Menzel from the Inquirer puts out a report regarding Grimes, is that the Sixers' formal offer to him was 4 years for $39 million, and he still believes that Grimes should command $20 to $25 million annually. Okay, so we got a guy going to do TV, a guy getting hurt, a guy still unsigned, and a load of problems for the Philadelphia 76ers. We had fun yesterday with the news of, the new uniforms, all that, and now we get this. Welcome to training camp for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, media day is tomorrow, so they're going to have a laundry list of things that they can address tomorrow. The Lowry thing, that's a waste of time. If you can, just get rid of the roster spot there and just say, hey, listen, you can go and do this stuff on Amazon and whatever, be a coach. You don't need him taking up a
why is
roster
he taking
spot.
up a roster spot? Why?
We don't
just
know
be
that
a
that's
coach.
the case yet. We don't know that that's the case yet.
I guess he's preparing for not to be on the roster. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was bizarre to me. That's the first thing. And then you have the Jared McCain news. That's unbelievable already. It's like there's just a cloud following this team every single year heading into training camp, every year.
Well, listen, we were laughing about it, earlier. It's like they didn't even start training camp yet, and a guy already got hurt. Like, he didn't even get to practice yet. and Jared McCain got hurt. Now, he got hurt last year and missed almost all the, he was out from about Christmas on, and he was having a good year. I said, of all the guys last year, he was the only joy to watch last year. Everything else was painful. He was even Maxey looked like he wasn't having fun. McCain always looked like he was having fun, and then he gets hurt. This Quentin Grimes thing, and look, how much more important does Grimes become now if McCain is hurt? Do the Sixers feel more pressure to say we got to get another guard because McCain's out? Now, McCain's not going to be out for, the whole season here. He should be back by the second or third week of the season. At worst, you would hope anyway. It's a UCL in the thumb. At the worst case scenario, he's out till like Christmas. So he will be back at some point. It's just going to be no training camp, no playing with all the guys, no getting used to hey, he didn't play with Embiid all that much last year, so he didn't get the opportunity to kind of feel him out and play with him. He didn't play with Maxey all that much. He didn't play, and now you're going to be like, hey, now you're back out there, and you're going through trying to, people like in basketball, they don't practice all that much during the year, so you don't get to practice and just get hey, let's get into a rhythm together. No, you do that in training camp a lot of the time. So for a guy to miss training camp, that stinks. VJ Edgecombe, they drafted him with the third pick. Now he becomes more important. But the Grimes thing, according to, as you mentioned, Gina Mizell from the Inquirer, the first official offer for Grimes was a 4-year, $39 million contract. I got to imagine he wasn't thrilled with that offer.
No, and his agent still thinks he's going to get $20 to $25 million per year. I don't know how that's going to shake out at this point. And now you have a little bit more of a pressing need with McCain being out. But honestly, I'd rather see Edgecombe anyway. That's the guy you drafted used him a third overall pick to go get him. I kind of want to see him. Might as well have him play. With this Grimes thing, how long this is going to take. I mean, it's like we've been sitting here what's going on with the Grimes thing? It's like we ask that question every once in a while. Oh, I think they'll sign him at some point. No, media day's tomorrow. Training camp's here, and he's still unsigned and still thinks he can get $20 to $25 million per year because he had some empty stats last year with everybody being out. So, this whole situation has been bizarre to begin with.
Absolutely. And listen, he is in that range where he thinks look, this is the problem. You make the trade for him last year.
Yep.
In Dallas, he was essentially doing nothing. Right?
Right.
So if he is Quentin Grimes, free agent from the Dallas Mavericks, he probably isn't getting any attention on the free agent market in this sense at all, right? I mean, he's just another guy that you're saying, hey, we might take a flyer on, because in Philadelphia last year is where he basically, in Dallas last year, he averaged, in Dallas last year, he averaged 10 points a game. In Philadelphia, he averaged 22 points a game. So he, in those 28 games he played for Philadelphia, he now all of a sudden says, in those 28 games, I became a $25 million player. There's a disconnect there, brother. Sorry. Your career in this league, you're a 10-point-a-game scorer, and that's because of the 22 points a game you got in Philadelphia last year. You can't ask for a $25 million contract based on 28 games. He needs a reality check.
I agree. I totally agree. So the fact that they're still that far apart, he remains unsigned. Now you have McCain going down for a little while. Does that now think he has the edge, right? Of we need a little bit more money because now we need you. Yeah, Pete, I agree. If you're him, if you're Grimes, you're hey, you kind of need me now. I mean, that price is going to jack up a little bit. What are we talking about?
You can't just throw Edgecombe out there and expect, them to compete and be a top 4 seed, what they want to do.
Well, I would push back on that and say you can't just throw Jared McCain, who has 23 games of experience, and expect the same thing, right? If you thought that Jared McCain was going to start and now I like McCain. I'm not sitting here saying the guy could shoot. Obviously, last year he scored 15 a game, but he's only got 23 more games of experience than Edgecombe has. So your reality of what you are with McCain shouldn't be much different what you think you're going to be with Edgecombe, because it all still comes back to the big man. And if you don't have him, it's a whole different story. If you do have him with Maxey and George and Edgecombe, and they have a nice little group of guys around them. But as long as Embiid's there, you're going to win 50 games and you'll be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, it all comes down to the big fella, obviously. And then, we also have to remember, Podcast P had knee surgery. So where does he stand? We're going to probably learn that tomorrow, right? Like, that's probably what we're going to find out regarding some of the injury updates with Embiid, with Podcast P. We will know kind of the idea of heading into the season. All right, where's everybody at? I'm sure it's going to get asked over and over and over again tomorrow. But, man, I mean, today it's just all of a sudden one thing after another with the 76ers. We had some positivity yesterday. That was enough. The basketball god said, no more. We're going to be negative with the 76ers again. Injuries, Amazon Prime analysts. I mean, what do we got? We have podcasters on this team. We have analysts on this team. I mean, my goodness, how are we filling out a roster here, Mike?
You are hot under the collar today, aren't you?
They don't need.
It's unbelievable.
The Lowry thing is the least of their problem. I don't even, I was surprised when I read the thing that he was going to Amazon Prime as an analyst. I was surprised he was even still on the Sixers roster. I didn't even know he was still rostered by them.
Yeah, he's still on the roster. He's now going to be an analyst too. We got analysts, we got podcasts. Maybe they'll collab at some point. We'll see. All right, moving along. Nugget number 2.
And TikTokers, don't forget.
Oh, yeah, and a TikToker. Yeah, forgot. Yeah, McCain too. We got TikTokers. Oh, what a squad we're putting together. All right. Nugget number 2. Let's go to the Phillies with a real squad that has a shot to win a championship right now. But last night, Kyle Schwarber, 56 home runs. Can he break the record against Howard? And I heard you have Hembo on earlier, and he was just laying down the hammer on some of this stuff. I wrote down a couple of notes. If you prorate Ryan Howard's season from 2006, this is according to Hembo when he was on with you earlier, to Schwarber's now. Schwarber's is technically more impressive than Howard's. That was the argument he was making there, Mike. Listen, Schwarber this year, 23 home runs against left-handed pitching. It's the most ever in baseball history, according to Jeff Kerr. Sosa was fantastic last night as well. He had all those home runs. But Schwarber, man, oh, man, I thought Hembo broke it down perfectly with the whole thing there. I think he's going to get to it. And, last night, Mike, Rob Thompson talked about they're going to kind of let him get a shot at doing this. I'm heading to the game, I think, Saturday. On Saturday, I think I'm heading to the game. After all that stuff going on, we got the locker room, we got hanging with Henning, all that stuff. I'm going to head to the game. So maybe you get to see him tie or break the record. That'd be nice. Be nice.
Well, listen, there shouldn't even be any question here. It's not football, and he's a DH of all things. He can go up there and swing the bat 4 times. In fact, you want your players. Look, the lineup tonight, Real Muto's back in the lineup. They're not being cautious with Real Muto. They're saying go out there and play and get some reps. Harper's been out for 2 nights because he was sick. He's back in the lineup tonight. These guys need to play, so there's no question that now they might not play all 9 innings of every single game, but they want to get their 2-3 at-bats out there. I would imagine Christopher Sanchez. Now, Mick Abel's going to pitch on Saturday. You'll see him at Citizens Bank Park. But Christopher Sanchez, he's scheduled to pitch on Sunday. I would imagine that he, will throw 3 to 5 innings, somewhere in that range. They'll have him on a pitch count. I obviously think that you'll see Schwarber going full-fledged to get this record now. But I was a little surprised that Hembo was so insistent that that this season's better than the Howard season.
Yeah.
It's not like the big numbers for me is the on-base percentage and the batting average. He hit 313 that year. That's a good average in any era of baseball. You hit over 300, that's a good year. He hit 313 for a guy who's not known. And by the way, his on-base percentage was 425. His on-base percentage dwarfs Kyle Schwarber's.
And if I'm correct, I believe he equated that 313 would be 330 today. That's how he would equate that and the pro rate from that era to this era. And he also made the argument that's harder to hit during this era. The pitching's much better than it was at that point, and the numbers back it up. I'll tell you, what a breakdown. I can't wait to read the book, by the way. That's going to be fantastic. I need a copy. I know one of our listeners, he talked about the Mount Rushmore. What was it? Carlton, Schmidt, Ashburn, and Rollins. Was that his 4, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Ashburn, Rollins, Schmidt, and Carlton.
That was fantastic.
That scored one of our listeners a copy of an autographed copy of the book.
How about that? That's fantastic.
To me, I don't know if you guys agree, but Schwarber, his homers are just more majestic than Howard's were, right? Like, I mean, if you,
I don't know about that. I mean, Howard would hit some atomic
He would,
bombs.
but Schwarber's, I mean, 460.
Is it the swing?
Howard's
Is it the swing?
Right? The only difference to me is Schwarber's are more like majestic. They're more, I don't know.
There's something about a Schwarbomb, Pete. I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
A Schwarbomb.
Schwarber has a quicker, like more compact, quick swing, where Howard had that big looping. I mean, when he was done, he like looped over his head. I mean, he had this big swing where Schwarber has more of a quick, compact, and the ball just, I mean, when he hits, like the one he hit last night, that thing was I said to my girlfriend, I said, look up, he just hit that ball to the Walt Whitman. And she was like, holy crap. You know, that thing was, but now Howard hit a ton of majestic bombs. By the way, did you see the guy John Foley tweeted this out? He used to do stuff on Pattison. Howard hit his 55th and 56th against the Marlins on the same day. Yeah.
Yep, and then Schwarber did too.
Miami, right,
I'm saying Schwarber hit his 55th and 56th against the Marlins, and Howard also hit 2 in the same game against the Marlins, number 55 and number 56. I think those games were in Florida, though. These games were in Philly. I don't know if it was the same exact day, though.
I don't think it was the same day. I think it was the same team, same number of home runs, which is wild in and of itself. The fact that it was against the same team and it's the same number of home runs. Now, all right, I'm going to pose this question to you guys. Does he get to 58? Let's say he gets 58. Will he reach 60? Is 60 in play? I mean, it's only got a couple days to do it. Only got a couple days to do it.
I don't think so. No, I don't think he gets to 60. I mean, the fact that he hit 2 last night puts him into play. We were talking about it before. You know, the most home runs he had hit in a month this year was 12. So I don't know what he's got this month right now. I can look that up real fast. But, I mean, he is probably I think he had to hit – I think he had to get to 12 to tie
this
or
month,
something.
correct?
The last time we were talking about this.
So he's got 4 games left, and he's got 3 to go.
Yeah,
right?
I don't see him getting there.
So he's got to get he's got a homer in every single game, unless he, I don't know if
That's
he's going to
tough.
play all 3 games.
Right now he has 7 homers. You know, he hit 12 in August, and he has 7 in the month of September.
It's going to be tough. I think he gets to 58. I think he's going to tie it. I think he's going to tie. I think he's going to end up tying it.
I think he'll end up tying it. That's what I agree.
Yeah,
Which,
I'm with
some
you there.
Phillies fans want Howard to keep that record. I've seen that on social media. They kind of want Howard to keep that record.
Interesting. I haven't seen a lot of that, but
because Howard's, he's an 08 guy, yada yada yada.
Well,
maybe
if you look back at this team
25 guy.
Series,
Well, there you go. I know.
You want to hope you have a 25 guy having the record, though, right? You know what I mean? You want a 25 guy. That could be a year, Pete. Come on.
You got to close the deal. You can't keep going backwards.
How many games do we want to see Trey Turner fit in between now and the end? 1, the whole series? I mean,
I would say, can I say 0?
You don't want him to play at all? Just show up at the playoffs? Here I am?
I mean, they're going to be doing live pitching, next week, maybe some simulated stuff.
Yeah, I think they will
ready,
too.
Though, he's not ready, right? I mean, what's the point of him playing 1 game and then he gets 5 days off?
Yeah, I think it's tough with Turner. Maybe you get him in for 2 games, hopefully, maybe before the end, just to get him some at bats.
But then, I mean, are you rushing that? Do you want him to run full speed?
Right.
According to Tim Kelly at On Pattison, Turner will not return to the lineup Friday. It's unclear if he will play at all during the weekend, but Thompson did say that, quote, we know he'll be ready for the playoffs.
So it sounds like they're going to do what Pete's saying. They're just going to bring him ready for the playoffs, essentially.
If Turner doesn't play this weekend, he could get a tune-up on Wednesday when the Phillies play an inter-squad game at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah, I don't see the point of just bringing him back for Sunday's finale just to get him.
Yeah, 1 game. Like if you're gonna have him play all weekend, sure, that would be awesome. Have him play Saturday and then Sunday, right? And then just get him a couple reps in, and then have him play the inter squad on Wednesday. Then it feels like he's getting the back into the swing of things, right? He's getting some at bats. He's seeing live pitching against the Twins, against Mick Abel. Maybe he can have a little batting practice there on Saturday. But yeah, because I don't know if I want him coming straight back to the playoffs. it'd be nice to get him in over the weekend, but it doesn't seem like they're going to get him at bats against live pitching against another team unless the inner squad on Wednesday. So I guess we'll find out.
By the way, so Thompson, some more Nuggets on the playoff roster. Walker Buehler will pitch tonight. Taijuan Walker likely in relief.
Yep.
Thompson said he wants to see Walker get through an inning unscathed because that has been a problem for him. So that goes back to, I don't think they trust him out of the bullpen. So we'll see, can he earn his way kind of onto the postseason roster. Nola, Sanchez, and Suarez will be the 3 starting pitchers this weekend for the Phillies against the Twins, but we know that Nola will not start one of the playoff games in the DS. So last night was Luzardo's last start.
Yep, last night was it for Luzardo.
Start it was, yeah.
And yeah, I know Hembo earlier talked about it. He loves having the 3 lefties go. I would go Ranger. By the way, you put the poll out. I would go Ranger game 2. Game 2 Ranger. All right, that's
I'll
enough.
say that.
Go ahead. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I would go Ranger game 2 just because I know he struggled in his last start. I would prefer to have him. He's been there, done that. He's more experienced than Luzardo. I would rather have him second and then go Luzardo third because remember, Luzardo struggled in Miami when he pitched that postseason game in Philadelphia. So I prefer to have Ranger with the experience behind him go game 2.
Okay, now Rob Thompson was asked today, last roster spot, Otto Kemp or Johan Rojas?
Oh, that's tough. I'm going to go.
Kemp, another Kemp bomb last night.
I'll go Kemp, right-hand bat. I'll take it. I'll go Kemp.
All right, there's the Nuggets. And by the way, Nuggets will be live with us tomorrow over at the Roost. We're going to be at the Roost tomorrow. The whole crew, Pete G, Earnshaw, Sports Bash, live tomorrow at the Roost in Egg Harbor Township at Harbor Pines. Stop out, and Nuggets and I are going to play 9 tomorrow. I can't do 8.
Absolutely.
Too much.
Do 9.
Keep them straight,
Do 9.
boys.
Do 9. Do 9. All right, we'll
Peace.
see you tomorrow, Nuggets. You golf at all, PG?
No. That's why I'm not golfing tomorrow, because I'm just no good.
I stink too, but I can at least go out there and have a conversation.
You're a good sport. Yeah.
Yeah, have a little fun. All right, when we come back, one thought every game. Casey Joyner, he's back for week 4.
Switching to Progressive is a game-winning call. And that reminds us of other game-winning calls in the history of sports.
It was a doubleheader in August and really hot inside the concession stand. So instead of waiting for people to come to me, I figured I'd walk around yelling, "Hot dogs here!" And that's how I became the first hot dog vendor in sports.
Okay, not really a game-winning call, but it was a good call. You can make one too. Switch to Progressive and you could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
Everyone's addiction recovery is different, and there's no shame in asking for help. Call 844-REACH-NJ. Trained counselors are available 24/7 to help with your recovery. Tell us your story, and let's begin your recovery today. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
Our 5 o'clock hour and our one thought every game with Casey Joyner is brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City. Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings in luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City in Egg Harbor Township. You know, we had Hembo on earlier. He's a numbers guy. He's a stat guy. Well, no one better when it comes to the stats and the numbers for football than football scientist Casey Joyner from The Athletic, who joins me now as we did yesterday, one thought every game, looking back at all the Week 3 action. Let's look ahead now, Casey Joyner, to all the Week 4 action. One thought every game right here on the Sports Bash. Welcome back, man.
Yeah, it just seems like yesterday we were talking.
That's right. But we got a whole new focus today, and we're going to take a look at all the games on the Week 4 slate, starting with this Philadelphia and Tampa Bay game. That's where it all starts here. And, you know, the Eagles have had all sorts of problems with Tampa. They seem to play them in Tampa on Week 4 almost every single year, it feels like. And they have not fared very well. Let's look at some of the matchups we're watching here. Those games in the past, Todd Bowles' defense against Jalen Hurts. Now, they did not have Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, or A.J. Brown last year. The playoff game 2 years ago, no A.J. Brown in that game. So there has been some reasons why the Eagles have struggled. But how does the Eagles' offense match up with Tampa? Let's start with their offensive line against the front four of the Buccaneers. Who gets the check mark in that one?
Tampa's, look, their offensive line is good, but they've had – I say this, they're kind of iffy because you look at their pass pressure rate a lot, and they've allowed us. It's above 40%, and you don't want to be above 40%. You want in the 30s. I mean, ideally, you'd like to be in the 20s, but you don't want to be anywhere near 40, and they're above it. Now, teams are blitzing them a lot. That's one of the things too, though. It's like, okay, they're getting pressures because people are blitzing them. They're bringing in extra defenders. You know, it's kind of you wonder that. So I think it's a weakness that they could go attack. But if I look at Philadelphia, we mentioned yesterday, I mean, 3 sacks, a 3% sack rate. It's one of the worst, ranks 28th. And they have a 36% pass pressure rate, and they don't blitz that often, like 24% of the time. So looking at going, I see a path to pass rush for the Eagles, but is Fangio going to do that? Or he's just going to say, "Hey, we're going to go with our front four"? Because I don't see I don't see that they can just do it with the front four. But again, if he's not going to blitz, I'm not sure who wins them. I call it almost a push.
Right, because Baker Mayfield obviously he's willing to take some shots. He's willing to take to take some chances, and if the Eagles can get some pressure, that's when you can maybe get him to turn the ball over. No Nolan Smith. We talked about the fact that he is now out for that defense, and that secondary has some holes. You look at the corner spot for Philadelphia; their secondary is not the same as it was a year ago.
No, it wasn't. And I was doing I do some start-sit charts for my subscribers, my paid subscribers, and I also update these matchup charts every week. We talk about on the show a lot here. And at Philadelphia, my gosh, I was surprised. Like, okay, usually it's been all red rated, which means, really tough coverage people. I dropped Quinton Mitchell to yellow rating this week. Adoree Jackson, I can make a justification to drop him lower. Cooper DeJean, I made him a yellow rated player. Reed Blankenship, dropped him down to yellow. I was surprised, but you've got 3 weeks in the books, and once you get that many metrics, that many numbers in the books, it's like I'm willing to go with it. It's like, okay, this is a passing matchup that I would have said in week 1 is something that the Buccaneers want to avoid. Now it's like I'm not saying it's a weakness, but hey, if I'm the Buccaneers, and like I said, look, the way they're playing, we can get our pass game going, especially because they're probably going to get Chris Godwin back. So.
Yes. No Mike Evans, though, in this game.
No.
He is likely going to be out for the game for the Buccaneers. But, they'd like to throw the ball, but they can. Bucky Irving's a very good running back, but they haven't been running the ball as effective this year. And you wonder, because Philadelphia has had their problems against the run.
They have. And, again, I love the Eagles' rush defense. The metric I use for that one is how many points per game, fantasy points per game to allow on planned rushing plays. Don't want to take scrambles or anything. I want to take all those out and just go with planned rushing plays. The Eagles are 19th in the league in that category. They're allowing 4.7 yards per rush on planned rushing plays, and it's okay. I mean, Baker can run a little bit, so don't worry too much about that, but they've not been consistent. I don't like the way they're run fitting. It's not as good as it has been in years past. It's something they can fix and repair, and it's like I think the talent's there on defense. I don't think that's a problem, but I just keep looking at it going, they're not covering as well as they used to. They're not stopping the run as well as they used to. And look at it, go, okay, the Eagles are where they are, but they've got a lot of room to improve. And again, this doesn't look like a Fangio defense. Well, this is 2024 Fangio defense right now.
All right, Casey, 1-4 Jalen Hurts is against Todd Bowles' defenses here. He has really struggled. We talked about the guys that he has not had. So where do you tack this Tampa Bay defense? Do you use Saquon Barkley in the offensive line and run at Tampa, or can they be beaten in the secondary?
Their secondary is playing a lot better. Again, if you asked me that question in week 1, I would have said, boy, that's something that I really think of their the pass defense is something you want to go after. They played a lot better. I still would like to see them go after it. If I had to pick a matchup, Devontae Smith versus Jacob Parrish. Parrish is a nickel cornerback for the Bucs. He's good. He's not great. I want to avoid Jamel Dean. A.J. Brown's probably going to get covered by Jamel Dean. Dean is playing really well. But they have the Bucs also have a cornerback, Zion McCollum. He's got terrible metrics. Only thing is, he probably matches up against Jahan Dotson. So do you throw there and get a couple big plays maybe, or try and get Smith or Brown lined up against him? You might try and do that. But those are places I'm going, because there aren't as many. It used to be that you could go after pretty much anybody in the Bucs secondary. The way they're playing right now, those opportunities are more limited than they used to be.
All right, we'll take a closer look at this game and the matchup that Casey's looking at and how that could decide the game. 3-0 Philadelphia, 3-0 Tampa Bay. That is coming up Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Tonight, it is the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Cardinals are a slight favorite in the game. Seahawks won 7 straight games versus the Cardinals, though. Longest win streak by either team in this series. So, Seahawks on the road, short week, Arizona.
I think the difference in this game is going to be a metric called special teams expected points added, step up. That basically measures how effective your special teams are. Seattle is hands down the best team in the league. They've got a 30.32 point ranking in that per True Media. Just a fantastic number. And Arizona's solid in that ranking, the 13th, but they only have 1.44 points. I think Seattle special teams, that's an overwhelming advantage. And usually I would pick the home team in a short week like this where the teams are evenly matched otherwise, but that's such a gargantuan advantage for Seattle. I'm going to pick the Seahawks.
All right, one thought every game. Casey Joyner from The Athletic here as we break down. There is a London game this week, Vikings-Steelers. So this is a Steeler quote-unquote home game. So the Vikings are a quote-unquote road favorite. 2.5 here. A little surprised by that number. Steelers defense tightened up last week. Vikings first of 2 straight games in Europe here. So they'll be over there 2 weeks in a row. But they'll see Carson Wentz against Aaron Rodgers here.
Got to try and make it a home game for the Steelers, because the Rooney connection to Ireland and all that. So you think that's going to be it, but I don't think it's going to phase the Vikings. The Vikings have a much better defense. Flores is a superb defensive coordinator. They're playing exceptionally well. What they did to Cincinnati last week was it said something about Cincinnati too, but the Vikings have a really good defense. The Steelers are playing better on defense, and they do have really good pass blocking. But I still look at it as an unfavorable matchup. I don't like Aaron Rodgers, he played really good in week 1. He's regressed since then, and I think a Flores defense could get him to turn the ball over a couple of times. So even though Pittsburgh has the de facto home field, I think the Vikings win this one.
All right, one thought every game. Falcons shut out last week. Commanders 41 last week. That was a big surprise. Both teams, Commanders with Marcus Mariota last week, and the Falcons getting shut out to Carolina. Last year, Commanders beat the Falcons in overtime in Week 17 last year, 30-24. Jaden Daniels had 3 touchdown passes in the game. How is this game different?
Well, is Daniels healthy? It sounds like he's going to play, or at least it was leaning in that direction. And it's okay if he does. I'm going to bet that he plays. So I'm making this pick and say I think he's going to play. The thing is, Penix you go into that matchup last week, and that's a fantastic matchup, and he's playing fairly well. And he's playing so bad he got benched. It was like, wow, that's a huge regression. Washington's got a good defense, and I'm a great defense, a good defense. I don't have any faith in Penix, not because of it, and because I think Daniels is going to play. And if he doesn't, Mariota as well as he played last week, Washington sets a high floor at the back of QB. I'll pick the Commanders.
By the way, you can listen to that game on our sister station, Rock 104.1. Let's go to Saints and Bills. This seems to be the biggest number of the week, 16.5, 47.5. The Bills, big favorites. The Saints, probably, arguably, the worst team in football.
Yeah, and it's only the 11th time, per stat ed, the 11th time in Buffalo Bills history they've been favored by 16.5 more points in the game. I mean, that's how rare this is for them. And Buffalo, they got advantage in every single category. The only thing I'd get concerned about is we saw a trap game last week with the Packers and the Browns. Will Buffalo be looking ahead to England next week? I don't think so. I think McDermott's got his team so laser focused on this is our year. The Ravens are hurting, the Chiefs are hurting. This is our year. We can get really ahead of these guys right now if we get a win. I don't think they'll let up at all. I think the Bills blow these guys out.
One thought every game. Browns surprised everybody last week with their win. They beat Green Bay, who beat the Lions, but the Lions have now surprised everybody with their last two games. Lions are favorites here by 8.5, 44.5 over under. Browns and Lions.
Cleveland, great defense, very good defense. The way they played against Green Bay last week, it was a trap game for Green Bay, but still the Browns are very good defense. Detroit, it's a problem because they're coming off that emotional high from the Monday night game, and you've got a game like this that it's harder to get fired up for. It's not ideal for them, but they still have a ton of talent, and because they started the year with that loss, I think they still, they realize, hey, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, and we can't afford to let up. So this could be a trap game for them, but since Cleveland played the trap game card last week, I don't think the Lions fall for it. I pick the Lions.
All right, one thought every game. Casey Joyner from The Athletic here on the Sports Bash. We give you a quick rundown of all the games on the Week 4 schedule, Panthers and Patriots. And right now the Patriots are favored by 1.5 at home, 43.5. But the Panthers won 30-0 last week, so they're saying we're the underdog in this game against a Patriots team that lost last week.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that the spread would be like that. And the Panthers, the fact that they were down 27-3 in the middle of the third quarter against Arizona in week 2, fought back nearly, had a chance to win that game at the end, and then carried that over. I mean, it just shows all kinds of fighting spirit. That kind of thing has a long tail. I look at the Patriots on paper. I'm going to give them the grade to win. But in my picks I do for The Athletic, you can find my ranking, my picks article gets posted every Wednesday. In that article, I mentioned that I think the Patriots are going to win this game. But I think it's going to be close enough the Panthers are going to cover because I just don't think that the Patriots – I could easily pick the Panthers to win because of the way they've been playing, but I'm going to take the Patriots in a kind of a split difference there.
All right, one thought every game. Chargers-Giants, Jackson Dart will make his debut for the Giants. Chargers defense has been outstanding. This has been one of the higher-powered offenses in the league, and they're a road favorite here, 5.5 points over under 44.5.
Yeah, I don't think the way the Giants played the Chiefs last week, if you're Harbaugh and you're showing your team, hey, this is the Giants, oh, the Giants are terrible, you can show them the tape and go, no, they played pretty well. Don't take these guys lightly. It's the East Coast game for the Chargers. That's not good. But again, it's Jackson Dart. It's a rookie quarterback going up against the Jesse Minter defense. Jesse Minter's a great coordinator. He's going to be a head coach here in the league very soon. It's a terrible situation to be in. The Giants have a great special teams edge, but the Chargers have edge everywhere else. So even though they lost Najee Harris, they got Hampton taking them by a pretty big margin.
Okay, one thought every game. This is two teams really struggling. The Texans 0-3, the Titans 0-3. The Texans are over a touchdown favorite, 7.5 here. And the Titans, Cam Ward, he got banged up last week. The Texans, their offensive line's been a mess. 38.5 is the under on this one. Holy mackerel, that's low. But can Texas get back on track right here?
This is one of those games you work in this industry. People are like, I'd love to do football stuff. When you've got to break down the game like this, that's when you earn your money. You have to watch something like this. Houston, my game grading system says Houston should be a double-digit favorite here. I think they're playing better in every area. The pass blocking isn't that good, but the Titans don't pass rush very well. Like they got some of the worst pass rushing metrics in the season. So since the Titans can't get after the quarterback, I think the Texans going to win this one big.
All right, let's go to the 4 o'clock slates. It's the Sunday slate, 4 o'clock. One thought every game. 3-0 Colts on the road, 2-1 Rams. The Rams a slight favorite, 3.5. But that number suggesting that they are taking the Colts serious here. 49.5 is the over-under. Can the Colts get to 4-0? The Rams obviously had a unbelievable loss last week in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they should.
How do you bounce back from that one?
Yeah, that's a long flight back to that you lose that game, and that could have a tail too. At least it could be one of those. Okay, that thing kind of carries over. The Colts, though, they know what they want Daniel Jones to be. They know they've got JT. They've got some solid receivers. They brought in Tyler Warren as a good rookie tight end. They've got Pittman. They've got a couple other solid receivers. I mean, they know who and what they're going to be, and their defense is playing really well. The Rams are playing well too. I like the Colts' big advantage in special teams. Could be a close game there. In this case, though, it's so close. I'm going to take the Rams to win, but I think it's going to be a really, really close contest. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Colts. I'm officially picking the Rams.
So we think the Colts are for real, though.
I think the Colts are definitely for real. I think Daniel Jones is going to I'm going to go real old school. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Jim Plunkett, but I think we're going to find – I don't think he'll be winning Super Bowls with it, but I think they found their quarterback. I think it's like he just needed a different situation in New York. Look what's happening in New York right now. It's dysfunctional up there. And I think he got to an organization that's a lot more functional, and it made all the difference for him.
One thought every game. Jags 2-1, Niners 3-0. If the Jags can win this game, you start to take them more seriously, and it looks like the odds makers think that the Jags are more serious. This line is only 3.5 as well. 47.5 over under in San Jose.
I gotta wonder about is how much of that is because Purdy might not play. You read the notes, and it's like it looks like he might, looks like he might not. Mac Jones did play well in his absence, but it's one of those situations. Jacksonville's defense has registered 3 takeaways in each of the first 3 games. Not a sustainable pace, but can they do that if you get even Purdy or Jones can both throw picks? That's a big thing there. I like Shanahan's offense, whoever's under center, to make big plays, and maybe they give up some big plays too. But in the end, I kept looking at this one like San Francisco's at home, but also they have Christian McCaffrey. He's the best player on the field, and even though ATN's playing well, I'm still like, no, McCaffrey is a difference maker in a contest like this. So I'll take the 49ers by a small margin.
By the way, the Niners are in Santa Clara, not San Jose, where the hockey team plays. We've been looking at Super Bowl stuff all this week, so I got all these different Northern California spots stuck in my head. Ravens and Chiefs, huge game. Both teams 1-2. The loser falls to 1-3. Ravens are favored on the road here by 2.5. The odds makers are saying we don't think the Chiefs are all that good. 48.5 is the number, but the loser of this game's in some big trouble.
Going into my analysis of this game, I started breaking things down. I thought, yeah, the Chiefs are going to be there. The Ravens are going to be there. I mean, they've got a great offense. They've got, they've got Henry, and they've got Lamar Jackson. They've got all these people. So I think, and the Chiefs' offense is not playing very well. And I kept going over it, and it's like, oh, the Baltimore defense is really bad. The Chiefs' defense is good, very good. The Baltimore has some special teams advantages, but it's just I'm looking at going, wow, Baltimore's defense is so bad it offsets what their offense is. Why they lost to the Lions, and I think the Chiefs can play a type of game plan that can take advantage of those. If you give Andy Reid defensive weaknesses and he starts to get some people healthy, and maybe he's got Kelsey plays a little bit better. You got some, he's got a number of receivers. Does Worthy come back this week? I keep looking at going. I think that the Chiefs will keep this from being a shootout, and if they do, it's at home. It's like there was enough there for me to pick the Chiefs. I don't think if they'll win handily, but I actually think they'll win. I was surprised to do it because when I went into it, I didn't think that was going to be the case.
All right, so a home dog Chiefs. You like the Chiefs at home as a dog against the Ravens. One thought every game. By the way, you can listen to the Ravens and Chiefs on 97.3 ESPN after coverage of the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Let's go to Bears and Raiders. This is a 4:25 game. This game will be on our sister station, Rock 104.1. The Bears, best game they've played in quite some time, most fluid offensive performance. And the Raiders, they didn't show up last week. They got bombed by Washington, and they are a home dog in this one. The Bears a road favorite by 1.5.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Raiders, Geno Smith showed in week 1 that he can throw vertical still. It's not a weakness of it. He can still go deep, and you're going up against a Chicago defense that really isn't good at stopping vertical passes. They've got talent challenges in their secondary, and they're also banged up. Seems they got starters they're not that good. They're terrible against the run. They're 28th in fantasy points allowed on planned rushing plays. So you look at that going, wow, that's some big advantages for Vegas. Mind you, the Raiders, because as bad as they have played at times this year, and they're not, their offense is not playing. Ashton Jenny's not done very much and such, et cetera. I still look at it going, I'll take the Raiders because A, they're at home, and B, those defensive weaknesses, the Bears have more of them than the Raiders do.
All right, one thought every game. Another game you can listen to on 97.3 ESPN. It's the Sunday night game. Packers and Colts. Obviously, the Packers, awful loss last week for them. Cowboys, they have had all sorts of struggles on defense. Packers, a road 6.5-point favorite at Dallas, as the Cowboys defense just what the doctor ordered for a team that scored 10 points last week.
I got to wonder. I mean, you look at Dallas's pass rush metrics, and you look at the Green Bay's pass rush metrics, and you go, oh, that's why Green Bay wanted to make that trade. And Dallas, I mean, they've got to be regretting it because their pass rush numbers are just they're just abysmal this year. Dallas right now, they got 4 sacks, a 4.2% sack rate, a 29.6% pass pressure rate. Again, you think that you want to be in the 40s, you want to be in the 50s or 40s. 30s are okay if you're in the high 30s. I mean, they're in the high 20s. And they're not even being able to blitz because they have to protect that coverage so much. It's a big problem for them. Green Bay's going to be able to throw the ball a lot. It's the most favorable pass coverage matchup of the week. I like the Packers defense might be the best in the NFL right now. I keep adding up going, okay, I pick Green Bay to win. I think there's a chance that they win big in this one. I'm going to pick it to just win outright, but I think there's a chance to win big.
All right. Obviously, a lot of Eagles fans liking to hear that about the Cowboys, who have struggled on defense big time. Another team that has struggled Monday night, Jets and Dolphins. It's a Dolphins home game. They are favored by 2.5. The Jets actually had a shot to win last week against Tampa. The Dolphins were in that game against Tampa Bay last week, too. So two teams that played hard but lost.
Yeah, and the Dolphins to show up again. It was what they did on Thursday night. I mean, that speaks to McDaniel that hey, he hasn't lost the locker room yet. And that's a big thing. The Jets, they're the Jets. I think they kind of when that happens, it's like that's just it. That's just institutional. They understand what happens there. That's just an organizational thing. Dolphins are at home. They both have bad defenses. The Dolphins have a slight edge of skill position players. Fields is going to be in the concussion protocol. Does he come back? It sounds like he might in things, and if he does, I mean that helps them. But when it comes to a game like this, or a high-scoring game with two bad teams, I'll just go ahead and pick the home team. That's really about the only tiebreaker I've got here. I'll take Dolphins.
All right, Dolphins a slight favorite in the game. And the final game, it is a Monday nighter, and you can listen to it on 97.3 ESPN. Bengals and Broncos. Broncos made the playoffs last year, but they are 1-2. This is a big game for them. They are a 7.5-point favorite as a 1-2 outfit against a Bengals team that is 2-1, but we know their story. The quarterback really struggled last week.
He did. I'm in fantasy leagues, and people are trying to trade T. Higgins for whatever they can get, or even Jamar Chase, whatever you can get from him at this point, because how bad it was. Browning will play better for the Bengals. I don't have any doubt about that, but it's at Denver, and Denver's a really good defense. In fact, the defense is a lot better than what they've been showing so far. But again, you play the Chargers, and the Chargers have a really good offense. I don't think the Bengals offense is going to threaten them anywhere near as much. I think the Broncos, like I said, 1-2, and they're coming off that loss. Sean Payton knows we have to win now. We can't get in the 1-3 hole. We've got to do that. I think they'll be as fired up as can be. I think the Bengals are going to be the worst 2-2 team in the league after this week.
All right, one thought every game. We finish in Philly, actually in Tampa. The Eagles have to travel to Tampa again and play the Buccaneers. Struggled there last year, lost the playoff game. Hurts is 1-3. What is the matchup in this one that will make the difference and your pick for Philly and the Buccaneers, who, by the way, the Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they play on Sunday at 1 o'clock, so it's going to be hot down there, and the Eagles are a road favorite in this one by 3.5.
Yeah, we're Floridians down here. We're used to this really brutal weather. And he's come down here. Don Shula used to practice this for that. They could get his team to try to run people, wear people out when they came down to the Florida sun. The big thing for the Eagles is that the Bucs are the best team in the league in that rushing points allowed on planned rushing plays. They're the best team in the league. They're a really, really tough run defense. They're better against the pass right now, but they're not as, that's still the weakness. So my whole thing comes down to, Tampa's at home. I'm not really a close game pick on team. I'd say if the Eagles will throw the ball and say, we're going to go to that matchup, we're going to go after this defense, even though the secondary is playing better, we're going to go after that. If they go to a pass-heavy matchup, I think, okay, the Eagles got a good chance of winning this thing. I don't think they will. I think they've shown that, hey, we're going to go run first. I think it's the wrong thing to do. If they prove me wrong, I'd be happy to do it from an Eagles fan perspective. But this one, I just think they're going to try and go with the run, and they may have to change it until 2 late. It's going to be like last week. They're going to fall behind, and I don't think the Bucs will let them come back. I'm taking Tampa.
All right, Casey Joyner likes Tampa in this one. The Eagles would fall to 3-1. Tampa would be 4-0, and then have the advantage for home field advantage and all that jazz as we're looking at the big picture in the NFC. That is one thought every game. Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash from The Athletic. And don't forget, each and every week we give you one thought every game on Tuesdays, looking back at the week, and on Thursdays, looking forward to the weekend. And there's a look at week number 4 in the NFL. All right, my friend, enjoy all the football.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Casey Joyner, everybody, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. That is one thought every game. It's brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City, where your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings and experience luxury today. BMW of Atlantic City in Egg Harbor Township. There's the matchup, Bucs and Eagles. We just broke it down. He likes the Bucs against the Eagles. Is he right? Is he wrong? 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the text board. Coming up, we'll take a look at Philly's lineup for tonight's game. Also, the Eagles' injury report just dropped, and it does have just a couple of names on it as limited. No DNPs today, but we do know a couple of players were put on the injured list yesterday. All that and more, plus the big Sixer injury news today. That's right. Jared McCain already hurt. He got hurt today. Find out more on our website, 973ESPN.com. We'll explain coming up next. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash is live, 97.3 ESPN. Go where the players go, Chickies and Pete's. That's where we are every Thursday. Today we're at Tropicana. They got, by the way, have you seen this homemade ricotta donuts? How about that?
I have not seen that.
I like it. He ordered that one of these weeks.
I see them right now, actually.
Get one of those. Check it out. Only here at Chickies and Pete's. All right. So, bunch of stuff before we get out of here tonight. Phillies lineup, which is, I was interested to see how the Phillies would play this lineup down the stretch here. I think they should play the rest of their guys. I mean, the rest of their games. I think they should give their guys at bats and play them. Now, Rob Thompson gave a bunch of nuggets earlier today that basically said that they're not going to, Trey Turner's not going to play Friday. He might not play Saturday. He might not play Sunday. He might not play again. And there's a chance that he would play on Wednesday when they have an inter-squad game. So you might not see Trey Turner the rest of this season. We also had a poll question up at Mike Gill Show. You could vote over there at Mike Gill Show. The results are in. We asked a question. It was a pretty simple question. Who should pitch Game 2 for the Phillies in the playoffs? 51-48 was the result. Who won, Suarez or Luzardo?
I would probably say Suarez won that vote.
Josh?
I would assume Ranger.
Ranger Suarez, 48%.
Wow.
Jesus Luzardo, 51%.
See,
now,
that can't trust that poll. That's recency bias.
Were people swayed? Were people swayed by Pete G earlier in the show today?
No, they were swayed, but that's the last thing they saw.
10
I mean, Ranger is a pretty popular Philly. I don't know that recency bias would bite him, right?
It's not about biting one guy. It's about people. Come on, you guys know the world we live in. Everybody gets excited about the thing they've seen most recently. They don't actually have half a brain cell when they're voting in these polls.
It's pretty harsh to say about people.
They're just clicking.
Yeah, they're
now,
just
Rangers'
clicking.
last start, by
That's
the way,
what I do.
He did not pitch very well. So, Rangers, if you're going recency bias, Ranger did not pitch well at Arizona. Now, his start before that, he pitched well at the Dodgers, and the start before that, he had 12 strikeouts in the game against the Mets. So he had pitched well for a string of games there. Last night, Luzardo was probably, quite frankly, one of his best starts of the season.
And I like Luzardo at home, Red October, feeds off the crowd. You see the emotion of Luzardo coming off the mound when he got that 10th strikeout. Ranger, ice in his veins, probably better suited on the road where, a hostile crowd would not affect him as much as Luzardo would.
The splits are not dramatic in this sense.
Correct.
Right? We do not have like a dramatic split. Now, it doesn't sound like Rob Thompson has committed to one of those guys pitching Game 2 yet. And quite frankly, he hasn't committed to using all three lefties, but he said he would not be against it. So it seems that it's pretty likely anyway that you would get all three left-handers. But would anybody be surprised if Nola started one of the games?
I'd be shocked.
I would be shocked, yeah. Stunned.
Like, what? Why would you start Nola?
I guess if you really, really, really believe that you need to split the left-handers, that would be one reason. And number two, if you want to have one of those left-handers in the bullpen, Dave Dombrowski did say on a podcast right around the trade deadline, he said, keep in mind, now this might have been before Zach Wheeler
That was
got
before
hurt.
the Wheeler injury, yeah.
Okay, so and Hembo brought that up, that kind of changes the dynamic. But that one of those lefties could go to the bullpen even with Wheeler not here, because you could have Nola be the guy who takes that spot and essentially be Wheeler. Before it was going to be Wheeler, Sanchez, and then somebody. Now it will be Sanchez, probably Ranger. That third guy, if it's Luzardo or Ranger, they could go to the bullpen. The problem with Nola is he cannot go to the bullpen. So that changed the dynamics of some of these things here. So do you just say, you know what? I know Nola's done it before. He hasn't pitched horrifically bad. He just seems to have that one bad inning.
Well,
so
that's
I
what
guess
could doom you in a postseason game.
It could do me in a postseason game,
Yeah.
and that could be for anybody, though, right? Everybody is prone to that one bad inning. We see it all the time. We talked about it the other day. Christopher Sanchez gave up 4 runs the last time he pitched early in the game, and then he settled in, and the team came back and won, so his start wasn't dissected nearly as much as it would have been had they lost that game 4-0. Like, hey, you gave up 4 runs. He gave up 3 in the second and then 1 later on. So if Nola – see, I guess I asked it this way. Now that you have Nola and Buehler, could you essentially say, hey, Nola, can you just get us 4 innings, and then we can go to Walker Buehler? And I hate the piggyback. I hate going into a game with the thought of piggybacking, but if you're going to start Nola so that you have an extra arm in the bullpen, do you use Walker Buehler and bring him in the 5th and the 6th, and now you're only asking your bullpen really to get you through the 7th, 8th, and 9th?
See, I feel like there's 2 problems with this, guys. One is we're acting like Walker Buehler's got this, like, super long history of, like, pitching in that role. And, like, he's got 1 playoff game. Like, am I supposed to treat 1 playoff game as, like, some he can do it? Like, are we really saying that?
Your point is valid, but the Phillies did use him in that role the other night, and he seemed quite comfortable coming in and pitched well. That I thought that he could be a guy that can be that guy that pitches the 5th, 6th, give you multiple innings out of the bullpen. He could be a guy that could pitch 2 to possibly 3 innings out of the bullpen if you needed him to.
Pete, is that a fair assessment for you that they're already starting to work Walker Buehler into that role?
Now he's starting.
So.
He's starting tonight, which
He's
really
starting tonight, right.
changes the dynamics of things.
Right. Don't confuse me already, Rob Thompson and the Phillies. You know.
Now the other night he pitched 3 2/3 against Arizona.
Yes.
So he went into the 4th inning, but for 3 innings, he was really good. I mean, he had those 2 walks in his 4th inning, but in the 3 2/3, he had 3 strikeouts. He gave up 2 hits, no runs, and he was pounding the strike zone. He threw 60 pitches. He threw 37 strikes. I remember at one point, I think he threw like 15 straight strikes. So, I mean, he could be a guy that you say, hey, Nola pitches 4, and then Walker Buehler comes in the 5th and 6th, and maybe even the 7th. Maybe he could pitch 3 innings. And then because it was in the 4th inning of his relief appearance that he got into some trouble. He pitched, he went 1, 2, 3, shut down everybody in the first 3 innings that he pitched. It was that 4th inning that he got into trouble. So, like if I said, hey, Nola's going to go through the lineup twice, and then you're turning the game over to Buehler.
I just still can't. I just don't think this is Nola's year.
Yeah,
I just
me
can't
either.
give it to him. I
can't risk him going to blowing up in the 1st or 2nd inning,
especially
down
with this
4 runs.
I mean, Pete and Mike, don't we all have some PTSD from the last few years? The offense has always been the pitching failing. It's been the offense failing.
Well, Nola in that Mets series, he got blown up. I mean, he did not have a good showing in that Mets game.
And then the bats were so bad they had to bench Alec Boehm to hope to revive the batting lineup, but it didn't do anything.
Well, listen, we all know that Nola's the Nola coaster, but he has obviously shown us. And look, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't do this. I'm just playing the other side of the card. If you want to try to get Suarez or Luzardo into the bullpen to help your bullpen out, this would be a way.
Which is the second question, which is, why do we feel it's necessary? Take out the Dombrowski comments from earlier this year. Let's put that aside altogether. What would be the value?
I think this is an easy answer, but go ahead.
Of putting a Ranger or a Suarez in the bullpen instead of them starting?
Because your bullpen is obviously a problem right now. Do you trust the bullpen?
I don't trust the offense either.
I didn't ask that question. I asked this question. You sound like a guy on one of these political shows. I asked you a question, and you didn't answer anything close to the question I asked. Do you trust the bullpen? And you answered, I don't trust the offense.
Well, because like those political shows, I don't like the question.
I mean, what are we doing here? Do you trust the bullpen?
No.
Okay.
Not
so then,
not implicitly, no.
Okay, then your question
if
is
if it's a black and white answer, that's what you're looking for.
Wow, I mean, he asked me a simple question, a question that I said has a simple answer. Why would I think to put one of these two guys in the bullpen? I'm thinking, does that question really need to be asked with the state of this bullpen?
Well, to me, it's not a black and white answer. I think
Exactly.
it's more complicated than that.
Because, for example,
Why?
Because I trust some guys more than others.
Yeah, but that's the point. I trust some guys more than others, too. But because I don't trust enough guys, I'd like to have more guys that are trustworthy to go to. I would rather go to Ranger Suarez in the 7th or 8th inning of a game than particularly, I don't know, would you rather go to
Tanner Banks?
Tanner's
Tanner
actually
Banks
been good.
is probably the guy who you trust. That's the thing. Do you trust Strom enough?
I trust Ranger more.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
trust Ranger
Would you
more.
rather you're up by 3-2 in the 8th, and you need a lefty, Matt Strom or Suarez?
Suarez.
Okay.
Suarez, yeah.
So now you're all answering the questions that you posed to me, Josh. Why would I want to put one of those lefties? I just gave you a reason.
No, and it's perfectly fair. So now we turn back to the Nola versus Walker Buehler conversation, which is if you're going to put one of those guys in the bullpen, you're saying, Mike, well, then I would go with Nola for 3-4 innings over Walker Buehler in that situation.
Say that again?
So you're saying we control the Phillies, you, me, and Pete, okay? We're creating this pitching staff, and we're saying, Ranger, you're in the bullpen. Now, who is that starter? Is it Nola or is it Walker Buehler?
Well, I'd like to see Buehler tonight. Listen, the problem is Nola only serves one purpose. He's only a starter. He's not pitching out of the bullpen, and that's the thing. So I go back to Nola real quick. He pitched against the Mets on the 8th. He gave up 3 hits, no runs. He had 7 strikeouts. If that's the game he pitches for you, you're okay with that game. He did not. You know what I'm saying? Now, and I say he hasn't been horrifically bad, as you guys pointed out. He's had the one bad inning. Generally, it's one inning, and then the rest of the game, he shuts you out. The question is, when does that inning come and get you? And that's what you just don't know. And that's why I say I wouldn't put him in that. I would not start him. To me, he has been way too inconsistent of knowing when that bad inning is coming. You know, it's like the other night, he's pitching fine, he's pitching fine, he's pitching fine, he's pitching fine, and it's like, but this is why I'm saying, you only give him two times around the lineup no matter what. Even if he's throwing a no-hitter, you're saying you went around the lineup twice, you did your job, thanks for playing.
I mean, I would almost wonder if is Nola more valuable to this team as a guy in the dugout just talking the guys up than on the mound?
He's not the most talkative guy in the world, but
Well,
he's.
I think he might still be in the dugout, but
he's
will he
going
be on the
to
roster?
He's going to be on the playoff roster, I would imagine. Are they just going to leave him off the roster?
Doubt it.
So if he's on the roster, would you utilize him in that way as opposed to him just sitting there and spitting sunflower seeds?
Like a Kyle Lowry.
Taijuan Walker a couple of years ago. He was on the roster, but they were never going to pitch him.
Well, the difference is Taijuan Walker a couple of years ago, he had that good start to the year and then a horrible finish to the year. So that was part of the reason why they relegated him.
Yeah. Yep, I know. And that's the thing is, to me, I would not pitch Nola as a starter, and therefore I wouldn't put him on the roster personally because you're not pitching him out of the bullpen. So if you're not going to start one of these 3 games, you're just not on the roster. That would be me.
So, yeah, he is better off just chilling in the dugout spitting sunflower seeds.
I'd sit in the dugout and spit seeds.
Yeah.
I'm a really good seed spitter. Epic.
Are you the first or the second spitter?
Oh, I am a Hall of Famer when it comes to spitting sunflower seeds. Absolutely.
I think we got to see you in action.
Ask anybody that coaches with me. The parents know. I used to have a parent that their job was he would come up to me before every game and give me 2 bags of sunflower seeds.
2 bags?
Oh, I'd go through 2 bags easy.
You're like Han from Fast and the Furious eating all those munchies.
During the baseball season when I'm coaching, man, I am so dehydrated all the time because of those sunflower seeds. All right, we're getting ready to wrap up the show live here today from Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget tomorrow, come on out and see us. We're going to be at the Roost over at Egg Harbor Township's Harbor Pines They got the start tomorrow, 7:15, I think, is the tee off for the Ryder Cup tomorrow. Live at the Roost, Harbor Pines. We're there tomorrow. Happy Hour Friday. Come out and see us for a Happy Hour Friday, and have Happy Hour Friday while we're stuck working. That'll be fun, right? More Sports Bash on the way. All right, get ready to get out of here. By the way, keep this in mind, and Hembo brought this up earlier today. Either way you slice it, Aaron Nola is going to have to make at least 2 starts in these playoffs, right? I think he said you need your number 4 starter twice.
NLCS and World Series?
NLCS Game 6, did he say?
Well, he was saying that depending on where the schedule lays out, he said either Game 5 or Game 6 you're going to need the 4th starter because they have that extra off day, so you can take the number 1 starter and restart him Game 4.
Right. You don't need the 4th starter in the division series.
Correct.
So the next time the 4th starter would pitch would be in Game 6 of the championship series. So that's a long ways off. And then they would pitch one more time in the World Series.
I mean, if you're down 3-2 in Game 6, are you going to throw Nola out there?
No, I would say. Aaron Nola has pitched in some pretty big games and won them for you before.
So has Walker Buehler, but not for you. So on that team.
That's right. Well,
whose track record you trusting in that situation?
The difference between the two of them is we've seen that the Phillies are willing to use Walker Buehler out of the bullpen. They've already said Nola has never pitched out of the bullpen. And would Buehler have already kind of scratched a roll out of the bullpen during the playoff run? You know, Rob Thompson was the manager of that team in 2022 that had Zach Eflin on it. So you wonder if they would use Walker Buehler similar to the way they used Zach Eflin that year.
This speculation's getting me fired up, man.
You ready for this Red October?
Red October run? Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
We got 1 week left,
Yep.
man.
Hey, this time next week, you might know who the Phillies' opponent's going to be. So just keep that in mind. Tomorrow, don't forget, we're live at the Roost. Stop on out and see us. If you have nothing to do, Friday, you're looking for a little happy hour Friday start to the weekend, stop out to the Roost at Harbor Pines. If you've never been there before, it is a really cool spot. I actually had lunch there on Saturday, and it is new, renovated event wedding space, and they're taking members for 2026 at the Roost at Harbor Pines. Sports Bash will be live tomorrow. As always, thanks to Chickies and Pete's and everybody here. They always take care of us and do a great job. They got all the games on tonight, Thursday Night Football, Flyers, Phillies, college football. There's some games tonight as well. College football weekend, Penn State, Eagles and Buccaneers. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody.